Appreciate it, man. Thank you so much for coming
Yeah.
on, man. It was really good talking to you on North Americans.
In Pittsburgh. I don't know if you spend much time in that city, but it's a fucking shithole of a
Oh,
city.
I know. Pittsburgh sucks as far as like the people who laid that city out, designed it, engineered it. I don't know if this was 200 years ago, three. I don't know. Like, I don't know my history on Pittsburgh, but they were drunk or on drugs because the way the roads are set up, like, I remember talking to JM several years ago, and he's, obviously they grew up there. That's the NPC headquarters.
Yeah.
He was telling me he still has to use a GPS to this day to get around, just because of the way the roads and stuff is laid out.
Yeah, and like everything closes. I mean, everything's shitty there, but everything closes so early. Like my flight got delayed out of LA and I was trying to get there and I needed to go grocery shopping, like you were saying. And I did exactly what you were just talking about. There was nothing open. I landed like at 10:30, 11 o'clock. And so everything there closes like at 10. I ended up going to the
Unfortunately,
7-Eleven. Yeah. I couldn't believe just like how like ugly. I mean, I don't want to see him just talk shit on Pittsburgh, but everything was so ugly and broken down. My building was broken down. I think I told you that the elevator broke with me in it. Like I had I'm getting ready for
that's
my show and I'm walking up 7, 8 flights of stairs, all
God.
dehydrated, trying to fill out. I mean, everyone there is kind of homely. Everyone that was attractive in that city was there for the show.
Yeah.
Um, who did you have in the North Americans? I know you had
It
it was
was
Blake,
Brett
right?
Smith. Brett got third in the heavies.
Brett Smith. Okay.
He's from actually from your area. Yeah, and actually, I'm going to give Brett a plug on this one because you guys live close together.
Where's he at?
So when I was competing, I never had any like bodybuilder therapists near me. But I feel like if you're a bodybuilder and you're a therapist, you know how to work on bodybuilders more than your typical therapist. So
Yeah.
just FYI, Brett does massage therapy and like ART, and he's in the Southern California area, like somewhere in LA. I don't know exactly. You guys got
Okay.
a lot of like suburbs. You said
Maybe you
Orange
can link
County.
us up. Yeah.
I think he's in Orange County, actually, if
Okay.
I'm
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
mistaken.
Maybe you can give us share our contacts and link us up. That'd be cool.
Yeah, if you guys remind me after the show, and like I'll send you his information. I haven't personally gotten work done on Brett because every time I'm around Brett, he's like, "I'm not." Like that would be a real dick move. Hey man, you're 3 days out. You're like, my shoulders hurt. Can you help me? Like I'm not gonna make him do that. He
Oh yeah.
would have because he's a very nice guy. I'm not doing that because my goal is to make him as good as he can be, and taxing him at 2 days out is not going to benefit that cause. Because massage therapy on a bodybuilder is very, very hard work.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, I did some work on Sergio. He's probably one of the biggest guys I've worked on. Um, did he do the USA's too?
Brett did USA's. He was fifth at USA's.
Okay, so moving up. So you said he's a heavy, right? So what did you think about the overall? I actually pull him up. I have him on the video. What were your thoughts on the show? The guy who won the overall was a heavy as well, right? He looked pretty
Yes.
gnarly. Actually, the top two heavyweights looked really good. I didn't see your boy. I actually did a rundown of the overall, and I thought the second place heavyweight was really impressive too. I kind of mentioned him. What were your thoughts on the heavyweights and just the show in general?
So, I mean, the pictures here, obviously, you were backstage. You saw this live as well. The
Yeah.
pictures do not do any justice. Like, to be fair,
Uh-huh.
the man looks mediocre in that picture, but I saw him live in person, and he's much better than mediocre. So,
Yeah.
Brett
Are you
was
able to?
like three
Yeah.
people from the end on the lineup, and I needed to tell him something, and I kind of peeked my head around the curtain and to get his attention, and I saw him because he was the last guy in the heavyweight class. This dude was.
Oh
And
yeah.
I saw him, and my initial thoughts was, "Oh shit!" Like I was like, "He's big, he's full, he's bubbly, like, and he looks pretty solid from where I'm standing right now." I couldn't see his conditioning, so in my head, I'm like, "Okay, he won't be in shape." And he honestly he wasn't in the greatest
Not
shape.
yeah, no, but what he needed to be for
He was
the way he
about
was.
80%, but it was enough that like I can't argue that the guy knocked everyone out at 80%.
Oh yeah.
Like he just has he's kind of like an Andrew Jacked in a way. And I thought about that when he walked on stage, like his physique, the structure. I mean, obviously Andrew's on his own level right now. Like
Oh yeah.
they bring a similar conditioning. It's not the best, but it's enough to knock guys out who is in shape because of the way they're put together.
He's definitely like got potential right off the bat. Whereas I feel like a lot of the times the guys who win the overalls nowadays, they need, a couple years and then
Yeah.
potentially still don't know if they'll be that good. But like this is a guy you can tell, like, okay, he comes in condition and he puts on a little
I
bit
could
more
see
muscle in the
this
right spots.
guy. I could 100% see this guy going to a pro show even this year and making top five.
Yeah, yeah. I 100%. Yeah. If he just came in more conditioned, yeah.
I mean, if you brought him down like 5 to 8 more pounds,
Yeah.
Like he would give a lot of the veteran pros a run for their money.
Yeah.
He has a wow factor. I don't know how else to say that. It's a wow factor. It's an it factor. But like when he stands there, like he's really not as big as he looks either. I mean, he's
Yeah. He's
225
bubbly. He's
pounds.
got small joints. You can tell, he's got those kind of small joints.
But like I knew that too when I saw him. I was like, man, I understand. Like I know what I'm looking at on this. But like he's a guy that can beat a guy that's 260
Oh yeah.
because of that structure of how he looked.
I'm,
You know, he did USA's, right?
yeah, he got fifth, right? Or third? He got third in USA's,
In
right?
the supers.
Oh, he's a super. Okay.
He
Yeah.
was a super at USA. So really, he decided to tighten up a little bit, and that was the meal ticket. And I'm hoping for his sake and his future that he realizes that, getting conditioned, I win. So hopefully that's motivation that when he gets ready to do his pro debut, he gets harder. And you might, I mean, if he could come in like really, really hard, he could probably win his pro debut too.
Yeah. I can see him do like a Phil Heath Ironman Pro, right? Wasn't that the debut he won where, he just
Yeah.
came in super sharp, the bubbly muscle?
I think it might have been the Colorado Pro. It was
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, I
either
think it was
way.
Colorado. Yeah.
Either way, if he can show up really, really sharp and full like that, he's going to look full. That's just his shape, structure, genetics.
Yeah.
If he can show up sharp, this guy can win his first pro show.
Yeah, he's got a back and he's got legs. A lot of times, they might be missing some hamstrings, and he's got potential to have a really good back. When we were looking at him versus super heavy, you could just see how diced the super heavy was. It really kind of showed the difference in the conditioning from the back.
The super was very, very hard. He was like truly in shape, but he didn't have the complete package compared to this guy. Like he was lacking muscularity up top. His symmetry wasn't quite there. This guy just brought a more complete package.
Yeah, and plus he's just the flow and the structure on
And
him.
usually 90% of the time, I'm going to lean towards the guy that's more conditioned. But in this case, couldn't do it. I mean, he looked great, but not quite there yet.
Yeah.
But Chris got second in the heavies because you asked him about the top two.
Yeah.
And I actually thought going into this, because I saw some pictures of Chris leading up to it, and I think he must have done some magic the last couple of days, because if you look at his pictures from USA's, his quads didn't really have a lot of lines in it. Like they were not deep. Chris has the structure as well. He's got structure. He's got muscle. I think for Chris to win his pro card, and I have a feeling he's going to do nationals probably, right?
I would think so, yeah.
I would imagine
he's
knocking on the door.
Yeah.
But it also just depends on timing, because you would think I would put Brett in nationals as well, right? Because he's third.
Yeah, it depends, right?
It's
a hard stretch.
It's a life circumstance that just can't happen this year. Yeah. But with Chris, if it could happen, I would say go ahead and do it. He did get a lot harder from USA, and I heard he was heavier too. I don't personally talk to him because it's like I'm not my business. I'm not going to DM him and say how much do you weigh, what are you doing? It's none of my business. But like I heard he was like 7 or 8 pounds heavier for this show, but his lines were there this time. I was like, there's a couple of areas that I would say Brett could beat him in, but coin toss. Chris is a little bit bubblier, rounder. Brett may have been a little drier in certain areas. So to me, that was kind of a coin toss. But either way, they weren't beating I can't pronounce his name, the winner. But like
Oluwatobi, I think.
I'm just going to call him the
Smoke
Smoke
King
King because that's what I saw on Instagram as.
So I do think the heavyweights is probably the deepest class too. What did you think?
And yeah, and most shows that's always the case, because not every time, but most shows the heavyweights is going to be the most competitive, because the light heavy guys, sometimes you'll have a show. Light heavies can be very, very deep too.
Yeah, I didn't think it was this year, but
usually your super heavies are.
Yeah, you got 2.
Not really in shape. You may have 1 or 2 guys that's in shape, and obviously that's going to be your winner. And it's nothing against the smaller classes either, but the smaller classes like middle and back sometimes don't get a pro card at that show because it's top 4 in the overall, right?
Yeah.
So if you're a really, really stacked bantamweight, you're kind of dumb for doing North Americans. Like save that to nationals where you actually have a chance at winning your card.
Yeah, the bantamweight was uncontested this year. Yeah, the bantam and the lightweight, I think, or the featherweight. Yeah, bantam and the lightweight didn't have anybody in their show. Why would you do it, right? If you're a lighter weight guy, go do nationals.
That's why you don't see competition really at North Americans for those 2 classes. Because I mean, if I was like 5 foot to like 5'5", I don't think I would do North Americans unless I was at the very top of the middleweight class.
Yeah.
You know, you run a well, you don't really run a good shot. You run a great shot at getting it if you're the middleweight winner.
Yeah, yeah. Are you working with any like the top? Who you have any pros right now? Are you still working with what's the quad guy? Was it Withers? Is that his
Oh,
name?
I'm not working with Withers at the moment. I have several pros under my belt right now.
Who are
But
you working with that are pros right now? And what's
I
up with
mean,
Withers? Because I was a
just
big
to
fan of
name a
his
couple,
quads.
like right there in your area. I mean, you got Joe and Paul right there. I mean, I've been with them pretty much from day one.
Who's that?
Joe Palacios.
Oh, okay, yeah, yeah.
The reason I mentioned them is just because they're literally right there. Like they're probably within like 15 miles of you.
Oh, yeah. I thought he was in San Diego. He's out here in Orange County,
No, no, they're not Orange County.
LA.
It's LA, but I don't
Okay,
know. LA is so big that
it's
like if you're
sprawling.
not there, like I don't know all the little suburbs and
I
stuff
mean, people
around
kind
it.
of think of Orange County as LA too.
They're like 10 to 15 minutes from Fit Nation and 10 to 15 minutes from Madhouse Gym. So that tells you what side
Oh,
of
so
town.
they're not deep in LA then, yeah.
Oh, Cassie, I don't know.
But it's closer to me than if they were, yeah.
Yeah. But about Withers, he actually DM'd me, or sorry, DM, he texted me maybe like 2 months ago. And I don't know exactly like, and even if I did know, I wouldn't disclose it publicly. But I don't know exactly what's been going on with him the last 2 years. He did the Texas Pro last year, and I was prepping him in the beginning. And then he ended up finishing that prep on his own, like the last 4 to 6 weeks. I did see something that was off, like from start to finish, like something just wasn't right. And because I'd worked with him for 2 shows,
Like physically or more like mentally?
probably both.
Yeah.
And I do remember, like I said, I haven't talked to him. Like I said, even if I did, this is not me for me to share. This would be for him to share. But he made a post shortly afterwards, maybe a few weeks after that show. He's in a hospital bed and he's talking about getting testing done or something. I mean, you go to his Instagram, it's there, so
Yeah,
it's public. It's
yeah,
not something I'm
yeah,
like sharing that's
yeah.
private. But he made a post about that, and I actually reached out to him, and he didn't respond, which I thought was really odd because we always had a good communication, or we always had good communication between the two of us. So I knew when he didn't respond, I was like, he's got something going on physically, but he also has got something up here that's just bothering him. And I have no idea what it is. I mean, he reached out to me about getting back together, like maybe 2 months ago or so. I'd love to get back with the guy, but I kind of feel like I want to know, but at the same time, as long as his head's screwed on right and as long as he's internally healthy, I don't need to know, what was going on. I
Was
just
that
know
the only
that prep.
show? The
Do what?
Texas? Was that his only pro show, the Texas?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I actually, to be fair about it, if if the judgment was left up to me, I would have probably pulled him out of that show. And that would have been my final call on that because I know what he's capable of. Like, obviously, you saw how lean he can get for nationals. Like,
I mean, that's why he won. He went against that was a tough class, right? Was it the heavyweight that he beat or the
it was
super heavy that he
heavies,
beat him
yeah.
over? I mean, didn't he went against a good heavy, right? Am I mistaken?
Ross was
Did,
second. Ross was on that year too.
yeah, yeah. And then wasn't there a
I think
good super heavy? And because he won the overall,
Austin.
right?
Well, yeah, the super heavy was pretty good too. It was the guy. I don't know his real name. It's not Bundy, but he goes by
Was a
Big
black guy.
Bad
Yeah,
Bundy.
yeah, yeah, the black guy. Yeah, he's the big bad Bundy. Yeah, he beat him. It was a close one too, right? I think I saw the scorecard. I think it was like a 1 point decision or something.
What I heard on this, and I heard this from the right people. I just won't name drop right now. I heard they wanted Bundy to win that show. Like that was like when he won the class, like he's going to be your overall winner. But when they brought him up for comparisons, they're sorry, not the pose down. The comparisons I think was 18 minutes. That's a
That's a
long
long.
time to pose. And it was Steve judging him. If you know how Steve judges,
Yeah,
it's pose after pose. There's no rest. Like you're literally doing high intensity cardio for 18 minutes straight with no intervals. It's just high intensity the whole time. And from what I heard on it, the kind of the idea was for hoping he was going like Bundy was going to get better and Withers was going to fade. But I actually prepped him mentally for that because I told him, I said, Steve usually judges nationals. And I said, I really think Steve has an ego trip because he will literally bust your balls on stage. Like it's uncalled for. And I would tell him
yeah.
this right to his face. What he does is uncalled for. Like if you
Well, you
can't
might not
put,
get the best. You might not get the absolute best all the time if you do it that way.
yeah. I mean, because if you have a guy, if you can put someone through 3 rounds of posing and you don't know who is the winner, then you need to step down from being a judge. Like, I'm sorry, but that's just how it is. Like, you can pick your winners after 3 rounds. These guys must have done 7 or 8 rounds of posing. And by the end of it, to my understanding, the determining factor was the fact that Withers still kept his composure, still got into the poses, fluent, like, he's actually flexing. But what I saw with Bundy, he was fading. Like, they call like an ab and thigh. He hit his abs, his legs were soft, like not soft, these weren't flexing them. He didn't have the enthusiasm because he was gassed. I mean, it was insane to make a guy pose for it. He did that to me at the Arnold too.
Yeah.
Like,
which one?
Both. Both. Actually, all 4 of them. I say both because I did it 2 years in a row, but I did Australia and Columbus.
Yeah.
And I remember both years, Dexter, I don't remember which year it was. It had to be 2015. I don't remember if it was, I think it was 15. Australia where this happened, because he did them both in 2015. He won both of those.
Yeah.
But like, he's pounding us on stage. And after the one in Columbus, I realized how Steve works. I'm like, okay, I'm going to have to step up my game. So I remember posing. I had a 2-week gap between those shows. I remember posing just to the point of death. It was like, I am not going to lose because of posing or stomach control or sweating. Like, if I lose, it's going to be for another reason. And I remember after several rounds, they call ab and thigh. So, we all get into the pose, and out of my peripherals, I see Dexter over here, and he actually drops to his knees on stage. And I seen it, and I'm thinking of it. Now, what was wrong about that was Steve let all of us hold that pose for like 5-6 seconds. And then he goes, Dexter, are you okay? Or he said something like that. He had to call him out on stage. And then Dexter
like 47 at the time.
But the thing is, when the cameras start flashing, when Dexter's in the pose, Dexter's nice and fresh, and he's smiling. We're all like we're about to pop, So that sucked. But I remember telling him, I said, Steve's going to judge that show. I said, you should pose for 30 minutes a day, every single day. Because if it's close, he's going to literally see who's going to crack. Like, if it's like, this guy's better here, this guy's better there, it could go either way, he's going to work you until one of you fades. And that's exactly what happened.
He was shredded.
That's what happened. The fact that he was able to, I mean, I had him do a lot of cardio for that show. I'm not going to lie. Like,
well, you didn't have to worry about him losing his legs at all.
Yeah, well, they actually seem to have gotten bigger throughout the prep.
That's what I'm saying. I don't think you could do Stairmaster 2 hours a day fasted. You ain't losing those fucking quads.
I did have him at 2 hours a day. He told me at 4 weeks out, when he saw me in person, he said, when I sent you the check-ins at 4 weeks out, he's like, I thought I looked great, and you were going to reduce my cardio, potentially give me a cheat meal, and instead you pulled more food and up the cardio. He's like, I thought you were just torturing me. And I said, trust me, when this weekend's over, you'll appreciate that.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that was a close one. Now, real quick, I want to go back real fast. So I remember till 2015. Are you getting to the point now where you've been out of the competition, off the competition stage long enough where people are kind of like, they don't know like that you were who you were on stage?
A lot of the younger people that's been competing, like say 3 to 5 years, they don't remember. I mean, and it's okay. Like, I am definitely not one of those bodybuilders like, you don't know who I am. No, like these guys that get offended at that, like, come on, that's just petty. That's called an ego, is what that is. But it's like, for someone who like I don't follow all the other divisions as closely as I do like open bodybuilding, because that's what I fell in love with whenever I started the sport. So like, I don't know some of the guys from 5 years ago that turned pro in classic, and that's not because they have bad physiques or anything. I just don't know who they are.
Well, not to mention the sport in general. Top 3 beating Cedric at the Arnold.
Yeah.
I mean, that was a good Cedric too.
A lot of people, like, I couldn't tell you who got 3rd at the Arnold in 2010. Actually, I can't, because it was Phil. I think.
Yeah, it was it? Yeah.
That's different. But like, let's take Phil. 2008. I ain't got a clue. Might have been Phil then too. I think it might have been 2006. Fine. I don't know who got 3rd 2006. So that's like 10 years before my time. So this would be 10 years before the current crop of guys' time.
I mean, you were on your way to becoming the best white guy, the best white bodybuilder, pretty much. Like,
I think Dennis still had me at the time.
Yeah, it was Dennis. Was that right before? Yeah, I guess he let. No, he had already gone, right?
No, in 2014, I had won my first pro show. Dennis was competing at the Olympia that year, and I sat it out that year. And then 2015, if I'm not mistaken, Dennis did it in 2015 as well.
Did he?
2016 is when he had to have surgery on his neck. And then
Okay.
that was,
So I'm
you
saying,
know,
so
like,
he's out then, and you still got third in the Arnold in Australia. I remember being surprised. Josh Nardowitz beat you. That wasn't you were kind of favored to beat him. Am I right? In the 2016,
he beat me in Columbus in
and then you jumped
2016.
him at his home country. Yeah.
If I'm well, the reason that happened, man, and I like Josh, and I think Josh is a great dude.
He's
I
really
just
good.
think I got a gift. You know, I was structurally better than him. But however, if I'm off, and I was off in 2016 Arnold, to be fair, like I placed fourth in 2016. I didn't deserve fourth place. I don't think
Yeah.
I did. Maybe I'm just hard on myself. If they would have given me sixth, I would have been like, yep, good, thank you. Like I would not have been upset about that
You
because
look a
that
lot
was
better.
probably do what?
You look a lot better in Australia for sure.
Oh yeah, I had another. I think I had 1 or 2 weeks there, and I so not throwing him under the bus. It's just one of those things where sometimes ever like there's no such thing as the best coach because
Were you with Hany then, or who were you? Who were you?
no. Hany never prepped me. I did
Oh,
not
he
want
never
Hany
prepped
to
you.
prep. Matt
Okay.
prepped me for the Arnold 2016, and it just
Okay.
turned out to be a dud.
Yeah.
You know, it was the worst I ever looked as a pro, and I was off, and I was off by a long shot. And because of that, I lost to Cedric and I lost to Josh. Both of those two guys I'd beaten previously. So that also was about a $50,000 difference in my paycheck. So that hurt. Then off the air, we talk about this later, but I ended up prepping myself for Australia. So I immediately, right after Columbus, I had my little mental breakdown. You know, I didn't physically cry, but mentally I was pouring. Like mentally, I cried a river and I beat myself up. I had a full 24 hours of depression where I
Was it?
thought that I
Sorry, let me ask you this: was it like a just a peaking thing? Then so you were in the
it
condition you
was.
needed. Like,
I had a lot of factors that went into me screwing that prep up. And all those factors except the peak was my fault. I remember going into that show, I had the most successful off season I've ever had in my life. Like
yeah, is that
my
you fucking was that this offseason when you just started freaking people out? I mean, you always did, but I remember there was one
that
offseason
one,
where like the
I
Evogen
didn't show
ads.
myself a lot that off season. I
Okay.
really didn't from like 20 the end like mid 2015 on. I didn't show a whole lot because I didn't have a lot of guest posings. I didn't really do anything.
I'm thinking of the
But I
Evogen
was
ads. Was it during that time? A
yeah,
couple of those. Yeah, yeah. Because yeah, just sleeveless, nothing like I didn't see any like like
yeah.
pictures like bodybuilding. But I remember everyone was just like, "What the fuck is
I
going
had a
on?"
great off season and the train like you know, like sometimes like a happy bodybuilder, getting yourself in the right headspace, it means a lot. You know, getting rid of your negativity, keeping your cortisol low, keeping your head on straight. And I had an amazing off season. I was so happy about that. And then I got up to I think I was 296 or 298, and it was like I was in respectable shape at 298. I've tipped 300, but that was a different time when that was not a
Was
respectable.
that guest posing during this time, or was that before this?
No. I was getting ready to start prep.
No, I mean when you were so big, was that when you did that? I know you did a guest posing for some. I think maybe it was 15. You were fucking really big there at an NPC show.
That was like during my rebound right after one of the Arnolds, I think.
Okay, so that was before.
Yeah, I looked a lot heavier than I actually was.
Yeah,
I was full blown full at that point. That's
yeah,
why, like, when people tell me they're like, "Oh, you're so full on stage," I'm like, "No, that's my genetics that make me
yeah,
look full. I am flat on stage. Every show I ever did, I was flat on stage.
yeah. Not a
But
lot of white
again,
guys have that.
I have like longer muscle insertions that make me look fuller than what I actually am. But the thing is, when I get full, I lose some of the fine-tuned details. And
Yeah,
that's why I'm winning or was winning shows is because I was detailed in certain areas. You know, like I'd lose some of like the tie-ins, like that really sharp, crisp line between like your rear delt and your tricep, the rectus femoris on your leg, you know, the side of your leg where your glute and hamstring ties, like everything else. Like if I just hit a most muscular, you're like, holy shit, that looks great. But then when you really analyze it, you put me next to a guy who's dry and hard, I'm going to lose if I show up like that. So I had to
yeah,
play my cards. I had to suck down harder to get the detail that I needed. But
yeah.
no,
Because
I
your
had a
stomach
really good
looked
off
really good.
season
I mean,
in
you were really dried out.
2015.
I'm sorry, I was just saying
And
like your stomach was the biggest thing I noticed when you really dried out and like a little flatter, your stomach looked fucking awesome. It was like one of
Yeah.
the best stomachs on stage. And then it'll just get kind of blurred out if I guess if you weren't flat.
If I'm off, yeah. If I'm a little bit off or do something wrong, it was a totally different story. But no, the beginning of that prep, that kind of things went downhill with me was I had three major factors before the peak week that screwed me. I ended up catching something called C. diff. Do you know what that is?
Oh yeah, I do.
I had C. diff
That's
at
really
16
bad,
weeks.
right? Isn't
I
that
thought I was
horrible?
going to die.
That my aunt almost died from that. That kills people, right?
If you're old and have a bad immune system, it will probably kill. But yeah, C. diff was my best conclusion as to how that happened, because that's not common for something like that to happen. So it can be an airborne disease too. And if it gets on your clothes, if I'm not mistaken, the shit can hang out. Like, say if it's on this countertop, it lives actively for quite some time. And it's usually old people, and it's usually found in nursing homes.
Yeah.
Well, ironically enough, my ex worked in a nursing home, and there
Your
was an
immune system was
outbreak.
just wrecked from like getting ready for the show, you think?
I don't think it's an immune system thing, man. I personally
You
feel
think
if
you
you
would
come
caught
in
it regardless?
contact with it and you got it, like for example, she would have to go into those rooms in a hazmat suit.
Oh shit.
Like they don't like C. diff. If you have like a C. diff outbreak at a facility, it's a big deal. Somehow I ended up catching it. And I remember at like 295, 296, we were like 1 week into prep. And I went to bed that night and I was like, oh, my stomach don't feel right. And I was like, yeah, I'll wake up in the morning and be fine. No. Over 2 weeks, I lost around 25 pounds. And I thought, oh, okay, well, I'll just get a couple of cheat meals in, get some extra food in, I'll fill back up. That weight never came back. I really, truly believe I lost a significant amount of muscle in that time, because your body doesn't absorb anything. It's just pushing straight through. You can eat all you want. I mean, if you're a fat guy and you like to eat food, go ahead and eat it, because you're not going to get fat from it.
You weren't just digesting anything, really?
Yeah, I got to the point I was becoming physically weak too, because my body wasn't really taking any nutrients in.
Been there.
And then fast forward a little bit later, I had my first, I would say, major injury at 8 weeks out. I was doing squats and I had a pectineus tear in my left leg. It was one of those things, man. Like, it was the last exercise, the last set, it was the last rep of the day, and it popped, and it tore. So I didn't train legs from 8 weeks out to 2 weeks out, getting ready for a show. Imagine I'm doing cardio like a grandma, just trying to keep my body moving. Thankfully, I was ahead of schedule with conditioning. I didn't have to die too much on that. I do have a high pain threshold, but I'm also not trying to make my injury worse, because I'm aware of
sometimes. Yeah.
I'm aware of that pain threshold, and I don't want to just push through it and make things worse. I wasn't sure I was going to compete. Like, I was going to make that call a little bit closer to the show. And then I think at 4 weeks out, I lost my grandfather. I'm like, what else is going to go wrong here? And peak week was the icing on the cake. You know, I'd already lost muscle. I'd already suffered through a bunch of stuff. And I don't think Matt's diet really cooperated with my body. And I've said this before on other shows, I'll say it again. I tend to respond better to, keep your protein in, but either low fats and high carbs, or carbs, adjust them accordingly, or kill the carbs and we'll go all fats. Now, I look flatter on that, but like, I can get lean in either state. But when you start trying to do moderate to high, or if you start trying to balance the carbs and the fats in a contest prep, I just get small.
Yeah.
I do not lean down. I have done it 3 times now, and it does not work for my body. And I remember telling Matt that, and finally, I think it was like 6 weeks out. I didn't say it aggressively. I was thinking it aggressively in my head, but I didn't say it because I liked him at the time.
Yeah.
We were friends at that time, and we haven't spoken in like 6 years. So, I liked him at that time, and I basically said, "Hey, look, man, we have to make a change. Like, this is not working." And Matt saw me a lot previously, and what I did, just to like reiterate this to him, I took my pictures from 6 weeks out the previous year and I cropped them side by side. And I said, look, I'm behind. I'm behind on conditioning, and I weigh less. But I weighed a little less because I had those hiccups in the beginning, right? That's not his fault. That has nothing to do with him.
Yeah.
But as far as the conditioning goes, I was behind on conditioning. So when we had to step it up and be aggressive, I think I lost a little bit more muscle because I actually weighed less in 2016 Arnold than I did 2015 Arnold. And I wasn't as polished either. But long story short, I did take over. I started doing my own thing again right after the show, starting Sunday. I think I showed up like 5 or maybe 6 pounds lighter in Australia, but the stomach was no problem. I fixed that, and I was also full. I wasn't too dehydrated, and I thought I brought a really good look at the Arnold 2016. I personally, me and Cedric were friends, but I personally think I should have beaten Cedric at that show.
The Arnold Australia 16.
Yeah, I think I beat him at that show. It's not what happened. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter at all. But that was just my philosophy. Now,
I don't remember what
Kai,
he looked like. He looked really good in America, right? Cedric, did he not? He kind of fell off a little bit, or did he look the same? And he just felt he looked that much better because I thought his
I just thought
American
I was better than him at that time. He didn't look bad. I just thought I was better.
was he as good as he was in Columbus? Because that was a pretty good Cedric look that Arnold.
He was pretty good in Australia.
Yeah.
Like I still thought I was better than him when I'm on. I mean,
Had
I
you
beat him
not?
twice the previous year.
Yeah. Had you not had any of the C diff issues and lost the muscle? I mean, before that, I mean, people were talking about a 3-man race. They were talking about you, Kai, and Cedric. Do you think you could have won? Like, I mean, I know you're a humble
Okay.
guy. You're not going to say that like, oh,
Well,
I
this is
should have
a
won, but
huge hypothetical.
yeah.
Kai Green is the freakiest bodybuilder. Not in say he's the best, but he is the freakiest bodybuilder I have ever stood beside, like in person. I think 2016 was his prime. Some people may argue that, but if you go back and look at those, like if you want to like put this over like a little clip of the 2016
Yeah.
Arnold,
Yeah.
like dude, he was diced and he was big. And this whole time leading into that show, I was following him on like all the social media platforms, and he's in Thailand, he's in India, he's in Mexico, he's in Colombia. I'm like, he's traveling, he's doing this for business, man. He's not even he's gonna look like shit. Well, as soon as he took his clothes off, I was like, well, screw me, let's go home. I knew I wasn't beating the guy. However, I was hoping to have been on stage between like 265 and 270, not 245 to 250. I feel like if I could have brought that look, I don't know if I could have beat him. Cedric wouldn't have been, his name wouldn't have been in the conversation. Cedric and Josh would not have been in the conversation if I would have brought that.
Now, didn't they have Cedric winning besides the posing round that year? That's the year that Cedric like won by like 1 point, and then Arnold decided to judge the posing round, and he hated Kai's look. That was why he did it. And then Kai,
Yeah, he does not like Kai at all.
Yeah, I mean, that was the whole reason he brought in the judging for the posing, because he thought that would go to Cedric. I think that was the year, right? Didn't Cedric win by 1 point technically before the posing round? They liked him that year. I'm pretty
I
positive.
don't think.
Yeah,
Maybe at one of the other Arnolds, because I know that they did like 5 that year. They had South America, they had like Africa, Europe.
Yeah.
I don't remember. I don't think he was ever beating Kai on physique. And maybe Arnold wanted Cedric to win in the sense like he thought. And Cedric is a good poser. He was one of the best posers. However, Kai is entertaining when he poses. I mean, it's some stuff he does can be a little bit on the weird side, but like
so I got right here. Can you see? I don't know if you can't see that shit. So yeah, they gave Cedric 6 points in round 1, Kai 9, and then the posing, and then in round 2 they gave okay, so yeah, they switched it. So I guess the night show they gave Cedric 10 and gave Kai 5, and then posing they gave him no, round 2 was the posing. So so this is what happened. They gave Cedric 6 and 8 for the physique, and they gave Kai 9 and 7. So it should have been technically 14 to 16 for Cedric, but he lost the posing round 10-5, and so the swing went to Kai 21 to 24.
See,
that it was weird. I remember that. I was like, what the fuck? Because they technically did give it to his physique. Yeah.
When they did all this, man, I think the posing round, the whole judging on that, I'm gonna throw the NPC or the judges under the bus. I'm gonna throw myself under the bus too. They didn't judge that. Straight up. That those numbers on the posing is completely falsified. That's my feelings anyways. And the reason I think
they judged it this year because they gave Kai a perfect score, and he had a really good routine, and then they judged everyone else out. They've never judged the routine again ever since then. Like, you've never had someone who didn't get first in the posing routine, except for this 1 year. I think after that they were like, we can't ever fucking have this happen again.
Well, I think the reason, like, Arnold wouldn't shut up about it, so I think they said, okay, look, he's Arnold. We can't, if we ignore Arnold, we're going to piss the fans off. So like we have to acknowledge Arnold and say we're going to judge it,
We'll
but we're
still
not
ignore
really
it.
going to judge it. So
Yeah.
they kind of plug and chug those numbers so it looks legit. And the reason I say that is I don't remember what I scored on the posing round, but it
I'll
was
tell you.
much higher than what it should have been because I'm going to throw myself under the bus. I sucked at posing. My
They gave you
mandatory
22.
what?
They gave you a 22, so third. Oh no, they put Josh ahead of you. But that's just because he finished ahead of you that show. So they just put you in fourth based off your physique.
But quite honestly, man, how many people is that? 13? 13 competitors?
That's a pretty big one. Yeah, I mean, yeah, there's 12. You can't judge posing anyway. Like, really, I mean, what are you gonna do? You're judging off of artisticness and like.
Correct. But here's the thing: if you really want to judge posing, I probably would have been like 10th or 11th, or maybe even 12th. I don't have flow. I was a big guy. I go on stage. I hit power poses. That's what I do. I'm not artistic. I
Me
just
neither.
simply don't have that gene in me. Like I can't fucking draw. I can't do any of this stuff.
Me too.
I can't dance. Forget it. That ain't gonna happen. Like I dance like a typical white old man. Like it's gonna be terrible. So when they said that they were gonna judge it, I almost didn't do the show. I was like, there's no point. I was like, I could bring a winning physique and get 8th place on a winning physique. Because and the thing is, I don't think posing should be judged. I think they should have a special award like they used to. You remember how they used to have a best poser award for
Yeah,
like
they
10
still do that.
grand?
Yeah.
I think if you offer a good monetary incentive, and I'm not talking about $1,000 to all the cheap promoters that thought about this,
Yeah.
but like if you offer something like 10 grand to the best poser award, you're going to have guys who has ability. They're going to step up their game. They may not look like Lee Labrada from the 80s and 90s, no, but like you're going to see more entertaining, more thought put into it. I probably would have made a little bit of extra effort, but the thing is, I knew I didn't have that type of talent. So the thing is, how can when I talk about judging the posing, I'm not talking about the mandatories. I'm talking about the actual routine.
Yeah.
We've seen some guys, like for example, Melvin Anthony, in my opinion, the best poser of all time, because he had the good, smooth, classical posing along with the entertainment value of it as well. He brought both
Pop
to
and
the
lock.
stage.
Yeah.
But however, imagine if Melvin Anthony was Mr. Olympia. Like you could give him Mr. Olympia because he can pose. He doesn't bring the physique. I mean, he had a great physique. He just wasn't hard enough.
Yeah.
But like, I'm just saying, I don't think it should be judged as part of like your score, but I do think there should be a separate category, like like maybe give the best poser $10,000.
Yeah.
I'm good with that. Like that way, because that incentivizes people to try harder.
I
Like
mean, I could even see hypothetically, I don't know if I would really want this, but if you did the classic physique similar to where you do the fitness and you maybe do like a third of their judge on the routine, because that's part of their shit, it's a little bit more about that, something like that.
I
But
could see that because I do feel like back in like the 70s and 80s, I feel like if you had a really amazing physique but couldn't show it right, and I say show it right, I'm talking about like the routine. Like I feel like they probably would have held that against you back then.
yeah,
So
for
if you
sure.
want classic to truly be classic, what it was in that era, then yeah, you would have to judge the routine.
Yeah.
Again, I don't like it just because I feel like, I mean, Chris actually puts on a decent show. Chris would still be Mr. Olympia, in my opinion, but like, I would just hate to see an amazing physique get pushed back 4 or 5 places just because he doesn't have like, for example, some people have an ability to dance without it. They've never taken a dance
Yeah.
class. You can throw on music. Next thing you know, they're going crazy with it. I don't have that. Like, I don't have that skill. Like, I don't, that's something that I feel like you got it or you don't. You can try to get better, of course, but that doesn't mean you're going to be great in it. The guy who's got that natural ability, he's going to beat you every single time as long as he tries. It's like
And they
take
like it
boxing,
more.
for example.
When they're better at it, they like it more. And when we suck, we don't like it as much. So it's like, we
Yeah.
don't quite put as much into it.
Well, I mean, if you have somebody who has like a natural talent and a natural ability, if they try and they combine hard work with talent, you're not going to beat it.
Yeah,
It's
nothing's
like
fun
I
when you
like
suck.
boxing, right? So if I boxed 10 hours a day, I would still lose a fight to Mike Tyson with one hand tied behind his back if he didn't box for 20 years
Yeah.
because he has a natural talent for it. So that's my thought on the posing. And I'll say this, even though I can't pose and I don't think it should be judged, I enjoy a good posing routine. Like
Mm.
I really do. Like I hate when I see guys do what I did, to just go up there and hit a few good poses and walk off. But like I said, not everybody has the ability to do that.
Yeah, and if you don't have the ability, sometimes you look silly trying to do what you can do. You know what I
And
mean?
I felt so awkward hitting some poses that I wasn't used to. Like Kenny helped me for that too. I don't know if you ever told, like, you'll have to ask him if you're still, like, if you're close with him.
Yeah, I'm definitely working with
I
Kenny.
spent a couple of days with him up in Connecticut because I thought to myself, I was like, if I can't get a routine together, I don't even need to do the show. Like if I can't get a winning routine or at least a respectable routine together. So Kenny did my routine for that show. He did it all.
Nice.
I still got the flash drives. Like he recorded it all. And I went back and I'm watching and I'm watching. And I'm like, oh, man, you need to do this. But when I can see it when I watch it, but to actually do it,
That's
can't do it.
yeah, it's not me either. So I want to go back and talk about coaching a little bit. Um, I remember you, like, I think we're like the same age. How old are you?
36.
Okay, yeah, I just turned 37 on the day of the show, right? So it's like I remember seeing you on the bodybuilding forums when we were teenagers, and like you
Oh
were like
shit.
teenager of the week. Like I think that was the first time I seen
Teen
you. So
bodybuilder of the week. Yeah.
yeah, so I mean, you competed for a long time, even though you retired pretty young. Now, throughout like your career, like when you were amateur, were you big on coaching? Were you a lot of self coaching?
No. Well, yes and no. So let me go back to that. When I was a teenager, and you remember because the same age, did you guys have, this is off topic, did you guys have the old 56K dial-up modems?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah,
Yeah, so I'm getting to that part in a second. But like
taking over
the
the
young
phone.
kids, y'all just need to forget that because you don't even know what that is. But like you couldn't watch a YouTube video, right? I don't even know if YouTube existed at that time.
No, I
But
don't think
like you
so.
couldn't watch videos online. So you couldn't watch these guys pose, you couldn't watch these guys train. And the information out there was very limited. The only information that I had at my disposal was bodybuilding.com articles and the forum boards.
Forums.
And you know
Yeah,
how a forum board is, man. It's like you have extremes on both ends of the spectrum, and somewhere there's the truth about this big in the middle. Like
yeah.
hard to decipher. So I remember, even though I'm not a fan of him anymore, because I personally think he's not the nicest guy, but Lane used to put, he's incredibly intelligent. I will never take that from him. He's super smart. But Lane Norton used to write articles, and I took some of the things he said to heart, and I basically learned because I was a natural teen bodybuilder. And I started kind of like implementing this, and I started seeing results. I started seeing better results because, like if you're a rookie and you go to the gym and lift, you're going to see results those first 6 months. If you don't change your diet, you're probably still going to see results. That's your rookie gains.
Oh,
But after that first 6 months, if you don't actually become a bodybuilder, that's where you're going to end. So I started learning, I started evolving. And also I was a teenager, and like my parents, we're not rich. We're middle class. It's like they're not going to be like, hey, Justin, here's $500 or 300, whatever. Go send this to some random guy online and then go take your Polaroid pictures, because remember how it was back then? You got to take
yeah.
a Polaroid and send them off to your coach or
There was like three
scan it
coaches
in.
too.
What?
There's like three coaches that were known too.
Yeah, like Lane, Shelby. I think Justin Harris was doing it too at
Was he
Tropina
already?
Nutrition. And then Chad was around. Like, Chad's not going to coach an 18-year-old
Yeah.
kid.
Yeah.
He's working on training 25 Mr. Olympias.
Yeah.
And even like I didn't have the money, I didn't have the resources. Honestly, I didn't really know about online coaching back then. So I was reading these articles, and I started reading actual like medical research articles on food, about nutrition. That was an obsession. I would put homework like, homework gets 5% of my attention, bodybuilding gets the other 95. I was blessed enough to be able to make nothing less than a C and never study. So it was like being book smart was not my goal. I didn't care. And I still don't care. I don't think I'd be any better off in life if I would have been a valedictorian. I
Right.
don't think it would have helped me any. So, I studied bodybuilding. I did my own prep I did 6 shows natural as a teenager. 5 of those I did it all 100% on my own, and I won every teenage division I entered. But that teen bodybuilder of the week, I think I was 15 in that picture.
I remember you
And
discouraged me because I was older than you and I thought I looked pretty good. And I was like, oh, fuck, look at this fucking kid. What the hell?
I had been lifting for like a year and a half, and I remember all the kids at school was like, "Oh, Justin's on roids, blah
Yep.
blah." Like I
Yep.
didn't even know what a steroid was at the
Everybody thought you were on steroids if you had any muscle in high school.
Correct. Yes. And I just didn't realize how blessed I was to be able to put it on that fast. I thought I was skinny. Like I thought I was like I didn't even think I looked any different before lifting weights.
Some
I didn't
body
understand.
dysmorphia.
I took the pictures, and when they sent me the email telling me that I was chosen, I was like, nah, like they got it wrong. Like I really thought that they sent that email to the wrong person. I really did. Because I didn't think I was like good enough to be like featured on their page because bodybuilding.com was bodybuilding back.
That was everything.
It
Yeah.
was all of it. So, I did those first 5 shows by myself. And then, Jason Theobald, right?
I'm working with a guy right now who's also working with Jason. Yeah, I love Jason.
Scooby.
Yeah, I think he's great. Yeah.
So Jason actually started as a natural bodybuilder himself, and he learned from this guy on the forum boards on bodybuilding.com. This guy basically came in as a coach, but he wasn't charging Jason. And they literally showed like daily pictures and they displayed the full contest prep publicly, like the macros, the exact foods. And I'm sitting here watching every single bit of this. And I started DMing Jason. And this is why me and Jason are still friends to this day. Like when I DM'd Jason, he was very nice, polite, thoughtful, and helpful. He actually offered to do my peak week for me for free on my last show. So I took him up on it and he nailed it. We ended up third at the Mr. Cincinnati, and I got beat by RD Caldwell. Remember RD?
Mhm.
Yeah, he showed up there. He was like 15 pounds heavier the week prior, and I was like, "Oh, I'm going to beat him." And when he showed up in the middle, I'm like, "Nope." I've never seen a natural bodybuilder harden up that much in a week, but he did it. I think he told me he was doing 3.5 hours of cardio for a week straight.
Jesus Christ.
That's what I thought too, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, he looked great. He won that show, and Eric Connors got second. And I was kind of like, I was maybe a little bit harder than Eric, but he was bigger, and more muscle than me. No hard feelings on that. Like, that was probably a good call. But that was my first time experiencing a coach. And again, right after that, I have no money at 19 years old. So I started doing my own thing. And obviously, I ventured into the other side of bodybuilding shortly after that. And then I ended up having Shelby Starnes coach me when I won the Kentucky Muscle.
Was that your first enhanced prep?
Yeah.
So what
and
are you, like
boy, was
20,
that
20?
different. Do what?
How old are you at the time? 20?
No, this was 2010. So this would have been 22.
22.
Yeah,
How was
and
that?
I
Because he's
remember
known for being pretty harsh nowadays, at least with the women. That's his whole reputation.
he didn't do anything he did nothing at all that was dangerous to me. Like the diuretic protocol, it might have been a little bit overkill. It was overkill, but it wasn't like, oh, you're going to die if you do this. No, that's just silly. I have seen some of the protocols though, and they are quite aggressive. He didn't do it with me, but I have seen some that he's used. And the only reason I know that's because the email address is right there on it. So I just remember that show. As bodybuilders, we all know this, but like I hate when I see like say you get on Facebook or Instagram, you see it, mostly Facebook, because Instagram don't have as many ads. But I go on Facebook and I'll see some random little fitness channel that I don't pay attention to, and they always say, "Why don't this photo ever trend?" Because they're trying to get your attention. They want you to comment, boost their algorithm, and it'll be a picture of like some bodybuilder. Could be Bumstead, could be Ronnie J. They always choose someone popular. And I'll read the comments if I'm bored, which is a horrible thing to do. I'm going to stop it. As a matter of fact, I've kind of already stopped it.
As long as you just read it without it letting it have any impact on your headspace.
Well, I used to be the guy because I would read comments and be like, steroids is a wonderful thing. And I would see shit like that. And they'd be like, oh, he couldn't get that ripped without steroids. And I'm like,
you get more ripped, probably.
yeah, they say stuff like that. And I used to go on there and try to educate.
Well, I'm saying you get more ripped without steroids, probably. Those natty guys have a different kind of look to them, the dryness.
They do get pretty But I just remember like reading that kind of stuff, and I would always go on there and attempt at being somewhat helpful. But I realized the average person thinks if you take PDs, that it's easy.
Yeah.
Like, it's so much easier if you take PEDs. Like, you get there, you get leaner faster, you get bigger. No, absolutely not. I would beg any normal person to take PEDs and take them and look good and tell me that was easy. I beg you to tell me it was easy. The reason I say that was when I got with Shelby, that to this day was the hardest contest prep I've ever done. I finally reached true competition level conditioning, like inside out shredded, but I actually had to take a incomplete in my senior project for college because I was so beat I could not do both. Like,
Yeah.
I could do my cardio and I could train, but if I wasn't doing cardio and I wasn't training, I was going
Just nothing. Yeah, exactly.
like I was
I
just
know.
like dead to the wall.
Exactly.
Horrible. So anyone who thinks that and I'll admit I was guilty of it. I thought, oh, I get to use, because that would have been my first time trying clean, my first time trying three. I knew what they were, but I'd never done them before. So I was like, oh, I'm going to take clean and T3. Now you read these guys on the forum board say, you take clean and T3, you're going to be shredded in 2 weeks. You can eat burgers and donuts and be ripped. And I'm like, oh, that's great. Yeah, that's not how it is. Not even close how it actually is.
No.
So I found out the hard way. And that's why I said I get frustrated when people say that, but I realize nowadays I don't even let it bother me. I'm just like, don't even engage. Just let them do them. They'll figure it out, or they won't. But either way, don't let it impact me. I'm not wasting my time on that. But that was a very difficult prep for me. And then after that, I ended up with Factory. And
he's one of the OGs.
Yep. Yeah, I'm actually trying to do like I spoke with the owner of Kissing Me Muscle. I'd like to do just a free seminar with Factory.
That'd be cool.
Like, he lives in Orlando now. So I would drive up there and do it because I've never had the chance to train with Factory. And we worked together for like 3 or 4 years there.
Is that who turned you pro?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that contest prep, that was another disaster, which was nothing to do with him. I had my own issues going on during that prep. I had a calf tear and an adductor tear. Minor.
Shit. Same
But having
incident or separate?
No, separate. I think the calf tear caused an imbalance, which ultimately caused me to have the other one. But man, trying to do cardio with a calf tear, all these guys out here that said, I'm willing to do anything, I've got what it takes, I'm the hardest worker in the room. Let me ask you this. Not you, but like the audience.
I wouldn't say that anyway.
Would you be willing to get up in the morning and take an ice pack, like a gel pack, stick it to the side of your calf, wrap it with an ace bandage, get another ice pack, take it in the car with you in a cooler, drive to the gym, then change the ice pack, put the new one on, then do cardio? Because what I was doing, I was numbing my calf to be able to function during cardio.
Oh man.
And I'm not telling anybody to do that. I think that was absolutely stupid what I did. That was retarded what I did. But I did it because that's how bad I truly wanted it.
This is the 2012 Nationals?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when I had that adductor injury, that was 4 weeks out. So I didn't train legs the last 4 weeks for that show, which blowed. Thankfully, I was already there. Like, I was in shape. I think I lost like 4 or 5 more pounds. That was it.
I think you would have won the overall. I don't know why I remember that year. I remember Yersky won that year. And, that was kind of a weak overall winner for the Nationals that year. I think you probably would have won it, honestly, if you come in a couple pounds heavier with condition.
I personally feel like I should have won it anyways.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't have him go up. I just remember thinking, I remember at the time, I was like,
I think it broke the internet when I
tried for a long time. Yeah. It was like, I wasn't following it super closely then, but I remember the guy had tried a few times, and I don't know if they just gave it to him because he brought a good package.
I have my thoughts on that. Like, I'm not gonna, because I can't. If I had validation, like proof, I would say this publicly, but I don't. And this is absolutely nothing to do with Brian.
Yeah, it's never.
But I'll tell you why I lost that show later.
All right, buddy. Okay.
And it was a business decision, is what happened.
Yeah,
just so happens I was on the bad end of that business decision.
Yeah. So something you said that was kind of surprising to me was that, like, you and Matt don't talk that much anymore. If I'm not mistaken, he was kind of like his first big client, right? Like, kind of got the ball rolling. I think that's how he was able to get in with like Dallas and stuff, is because he was working with you. So, like, how did that relationship start? And like, is there a reason you guys don't talk? Are you on bad terms? You just haven't reached out?
So in 2013, I don't know. Yeah, you'll remember this because you said you remember me from my team bodybuilding days. Remember Gear Nutra?
What's that?
Gear Nutra.
No, what is that? I don't remember that.
It was the supplement company. It was black and yellow, and they had like the big
Okay.
G. Remember that?
Okay. I remember the G.
Okay, so they were basically trying to get me to market more, and like to this day, I still don't really do a lot of like social media stuff, and I didn't know what to do. So I was like, guys, like this is not in my contract. It's not that I have a problem doing it. I was like, because it's not in my contract, I didn't agree to do it, so you're gonna have to help me do it.
Yeah.
Like, tell me what to post. Show me how to do this. Like,
That's nice of
enlighten
you.
me. And one of the things that they wanted me to, well, I wanted to do it because I knew it would further my career. I didn't do it for them. I did it for me all day long. I actually was on good terms with that company until they defaulted on payment. That's a different story. But they asked me, they said, here, look, here's a good thing you can do. They said, engage with your local audience first. I said, okay, what do you want me to do? So I think I made a post on Facebook and I invited someone to come and train legs with me. Like, anybody want to come train legs with me on Sunday? Matt responded. And I looked at him, I looked at his profile picture, and I was thinking out loud, like, I'm going to bury this kid. I'm going to bury him 6 feet under on a leg workout. Like he's going to beg to quit. Surprisingly, it was the opposite. He was like 165 and I was like 265 at that time. And he was natural and I clearly was not. And he couldn't hang with me on weights, obviously.
Yeah.
So like that, if he could beat me on poundage, then I'm doing something wrong, right? But he did hang with me on intensity. Like he had guts, like he had heart, he had drive, he had willpower, something that I don't see in most people. And I'll say this, I'll give Matt props. I've never had a training partner as good as him. He was very on point with that. I can never take that from him. And very few people know how to dig as deep as he does as far as training. So I realized, like, after that one session, I was like, I don't like this kid. Like he's got some drive. He's got motivation. We kind of stayed in touch, chit chat a little bit. Next thing you know, like we're training here and there. And then it kind of turned into a full-time thing, like us training together. He was shooting my videos and stuff and editing it. And we were actually friends. Like we would do things outside of the gym, like he'd been over to the apartment a few times, like where I was living at in Kentucky. And I'd been to his place multiple times. And he didn't actually coach me until 2016. So in 2015 and 14, I did my own thing. We were friends, but I just did my own thing.
Were you using him at all, like as an eye or like just feedback at that time, or just as a training partner strictly?
I definitely took his feedback into consideration. Like there was a couple of times we were training and I'd have my shirt off or like in a tank top and he'd just be like, how much food you had today? And I'm like, I'm pushing a little harder than usual. He goes, yeah, you're pretty flat right now. Like I can see it in you. So, when you're with somebody every single day, those last 4 to 6 weeks, things can happen really, really quickly. Like when you get to a certain level of being lean, that flat factor, there's a fine line of continuing to lose body fat and continuing to lose your fullness if you don't know how to like mitigate that. So like he saw that and I was like, oh, well, I was glad to have his eye there, otherwise I probably would have sucked down another 10 or 15 pounds. So, I mean, I did my own thing. I did my own carb ups and stuff, but when he would offer feedback, I was very receptive to it. But no, Dallas called me, I think it was January, February, March, somewhere in there, like 2015. I remember I was sitting in Ford's parking lot. He was telling me, I probably shouldn't say this kind of stuff, but I will because it really just does. It's not relevant now. He's dead and gone.
Yeah.
But he was working with Hany at the time. And he was telling me how like he didn't like certain things about like Hany's protocol, and it was dietary related, nothing else, just strictly dietary. And I was like, look, man, here's how I do it. I'm doing this, and like this is how I structure my meals. And I said, I was like, I don't know why Hany would have you do that, but that's none of my business. And he goes, well, why don't you just coach me? He's like, I'll pay you. He's like, I look up to you. He's like, I trust you. And I said, no, absolutely not. Because I am not biting the hand that feeds me. I was sponsored with Evogen. I was like, do you realize how horrible this is going to end for the both of us?
Yeah.
If I take Hany's client from him, like the first thing's going to happen is like my contract is terminated. He's going to make a phone call like, hey, Sandy, Ted, Steve, Jim, screw Justin next time. Like that's how that's gonna go. Like screw him. He's a bad like I just didn't want that type of like vibe.
Yeah.
I can't do that. So I told him I was like, you should go with Matt. And I don't think many people know this, but they were actually working together while Hany still thought he was training Dallas.
Yeah.
Very few people, and I didn't know that. Those two fuckers kept it from me. They didn't even tell me because they knew I was talking to Hany all the time.
Was Dallas Evogen too, or he wasn't with Evogen?
No. He got with Hany in 2013, right after he turned pro.
Okay.
It just as his trainer.
Yeah.
Like Hany saw talent, he saw potential in him. So I don't know how they worked that out. I didn't ask any questions on that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Hany was Dallas's coach for up until, I don't know, 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks out, somewhere in that range. I didn't know it. I genuinely, because when I was at the Cal, I was there when Dallas won. I was watching Hany like tell him what to do. Apparently, he had another guy in his ear, which that's actually bad on both Dallas and Matt's part. Like, I will take Hany's side on that because that's not right to do him that way, to not tell him. But at the same time, I think they were a little bit worried because like that was a Spectrum Fitness Productions and Hany owned Spectrum.
Yeah, I get it.
You don't really want to tell him, you don't want to cut him loose at 6 weeks out. And I'm sure they had they probably had a contract together. I don't know that either, but it's making my assumptions. So that's how they got together. And I think that's what kind of boosted Matt's career.
So it was you. I mean, really, you're responsible for Matt's career. I mean, that's the way I've always looked at it.
When he took Dallas from, so Matt never took credit to Dallas winning the 2015 Cal. Even though he did it, he didn't take credit to that because they let Hany have that.
Yeah.
Damn, I think this is the first time that ever went out publicly. Oops, my bad. But yeah, anyways, I think at the Olympia that year, he came in like 15 pounds heavier, significantly improved. So whatever they were doing was working. And I will defend Matt on this. I think Dallas was doing significantly more stuff than, which in turn, I'm glad I didn't coach him for that reason too.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think he was telling Matt the full truth as to what, I never asked Matt, hey, what do you have Dallas take?
Yeah.
That's just like something that people think pro bodybuilders talk about, but we don't. Like, I have never been backstage or at a meeting or at like a dinner. Like, hey man, so what are you taking? You're like, we just don't do that.
The amateurs ask all this shit. I gotta have somebody to ask you so much shit.
Yeah,
especially if it's like a regional
guys
show.
who don't even compete, they want to know, but it's like, dude, just train and eat. If you can get that right, the PEDs are literally elementary.
The same shit,
Like if you talk to any of my clients, you can see like my focus is making sure that you train properly and we're getting the food in. But like the PEDs, like we're not swapping compounds every 2 weeks. We're not upping this, titrating this. We're not doing all that stuff.
Yeah.
It's very simple. But like the average person overthinks it. But again, I do think that like based on like Dallas's autopsy, I cannot imagine in any world that Matt told him to take that.
Yeah.
I think that was Dallas doing what Dallas wanted to do. I mean,
saw
I get
him.
it. He's 25 years old, 26, whatever it was. And like you feel good. So why would he stop, right? Like he feels great. So he had no idea anything was even going on.
I saw him that year at the Arnold, and he was just. I was at the line, to meet him, and he just, man, he had to go leave for a second. He had to sit down. He didn't feel good. He looked terrible. And then the week after is when he had the issue on stage at the Australia, and then I think
this is my thoughts on this. So again, this is all speculation, but I personally think he was in congestive heart failure at the Arnold.
Yeah.
That's why, because if you remember, and you could Google this if you don't know it, but like if someone's in congestive heart failure, like that cough,
like fluid, all that fluid,
that's congestive heart failure. People, and I can understand at 25, he was 25, 26, whatever it was. There's no way he thought, oh man, my heart's bad. He didn't think that. He probably legitimately thought it was bronchitis because that can sometimes take people several months to get over. But unfortunately, I think when he started developing that cough, I think he was in heart failure and just didn't know it.
I can see that.
So I think when he staggered on stage, that might have potentially been a mild heart attack. Because if you read those reports and whatnot, like they told him he should see a cardiologist, but he never followed up. There was no evidence, no proof of that.
Matt's coaching Dallas, and then you decided to join in 2000 for the 2016
That's
season
Ashland.
under Matt, like exclusively, let him take the reins entirely, or when did that start?
Probably like mid to late 2015. I think I might have even been doing my own thing up into contest prep, like 16 weeks out. But at that point, I was kind of exhausted. I had just moved to Florida, and I was like, it would be nice to just wake up and be told what to do and not have to think about it. Like, I gave it a shot. It didn't work out. I mean, like I said, he did do everything in his absolute power. I mean, think about it. He definitely doesn't want me to look bad, because that's a huge reflection on him. Like, he flew to my house on his own money for like the last, I don't know if it was 2 weeks, at least the last week before the show, week and a half.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he did everything in his power. It's just, I don't think my body cooperated with the protocol.
Now, why did
And
you
it
say
was,
I'm sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
really, the peak week failed from a diuretic standpoint.
Oh,
That's just this point blank. That's the thing is, it's not really. It is, but it isn't. But like, that's why most people fail during peak week. Like, you see guys look better at 1 week out than they do on stage. Oftentimes, they either ate too much damn food, or they over diuretic, or both. And
is this
I
like
personally think
diazide or like a loop or more like aldactone?
both.
So diazide and aldactone.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, that can be that can definitely bring you down.
Well, I had a prior experience with that. And the thing is, like, my body stays rather dry as it is. Like, I've never been a guy that, when I'm lean and I'm eating good, I never was a guy who held a lot.
What about
So,
AIs? Did you have to drive those high at all with Matt?
no, no. I do wish, if I could redo my career, I really wish I would have done labs throughout, like, the cycles, like the prep,
Yeah.
because I probably overdone the AIs. Like, I probably pushed it up, because I don't think I aromatize very heavily at all. Like, I know I don't, because I never had to use them in the off season.
Yeah.
I just thought, oh, it's a staple. You have to do this. Like,
Right.
some people don't need it.
Yeah.
And I think I was probably a guy that just didn't need it. But no, I did have experience prior, from 2011, with aldactones and diazide, and it bombed me then really bad. It was my worst look as an amateur. And I remember telling him that, and he was like, well, I literally laid the protocol. So this is how we did it. This is the dosage that we did. This is how we did the foods, how we did the water, how we did the sodium, blah, 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 blah. And everything except the diuretics was different with him. Like, the food, the water, training, like, literally, it was all completely different. So I was like, what the hell? I was like, I followed him this far. Like, I'm
Yeah.
not going to go against him. Like, that's kind of retarded. Like, I'm not going to throw you under the bus at 1 week out. So I did it. It just didn't work for me.
Yeah.
I actually thought, and I may be wrong on this, I was so convinced back at that time that I had something called diabetes insipidus. It's not diabetes. It's nothing to do with your glucose. It's where your body overproduces aldosterone and you constantly flush in water. Because, like, my prostate, my PSA is perfectly fine, and I still to this day will get up 3 or 4 or 5 times, maybe not 5, but like, when I was in prep, I would get up like 5 times in the middle of the night to piss. I was constantly peeing. If I didn't drink, I'm still peeing. So, like, I feel like my body was always kind of like very low on fluids because of that.
Yeah.
Again, maybe I'm just crazy. I don't even care about it now. I just drink when I'm
you know your
supposed to
body.
go.
Yeah.
Bad habit. Don't do it.
What is it?
I probably need to get my septum fixed in my nose again. It's just afferent. This is the knockoff. But yeah, that's also why, if you recall this, I used to wear the breathe rights.
Oh, really? No, I don't remember that.
Martin, yeah, I used to get made fun of a lot locally for it because I got, I think I mentally aged early in life. Like, old men get to the point they just don't care anymore.
Yeah.
I was that way at like 25.
That's great. That's rare.
Like, I'd wake up in the morning and have the breathe right on, because essentially it kind of like opens your nostrils up.
Yeah.
And if you have a deviated septum, you'll know, like, it sucks. Your breathing is terrible through your nose. So I would literally just walk around Walmart. I'd go to the gym with the breathe right on. People would look at me like I was like, I had people ask me, "Oh, you broke your nose?" I'm like, "No, my nose is fine." They're like, "What is that?" I'm like, "Don't worry about it. Like, I don't want to do it."
They probably wouldn't ask you if you weren't huge. You know what I mean? They wouldn't even notice or care.
Do what? Oh
They
yeah,
probably,
if I was an average guy, they probably would
yeah,
say.
yeah. So you mentioned that you didn't want Hany to prep you. Why was that? I mean, everyone seems to want Hany. I mean, he's considered one of the goats. What was the reasoning behind that? You were with Evil Gen. I'm sure he wanted to coach you, right?
He would have.
Yeah.
I'm going to say two reasons on this. I don't talk about this much because this is not his fault at all either. Clearly, we didn't have beef because I worked with the company like 3 years later.
Yeah.
But he did prep me for nationals in 2011, and I bombed. I got 13th. And that's how I know about the double diuretic protocol.
Yeah.
My body didn't respond to it. But I'm pretty confident that we came to the conclusion that I did that show natural.
You didn't
Not
have
by
good gear?
intention.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah,
by
exactly.
intention.
Yeah.
So that really wasn't his fault. Like, you're training me like an enhanced athlete when I'm basically full blown natty.
Yeah.
Like, nothing cooperated for us. My stress was high. My work, the show bombed, but that wasn't his fault at all. So no hard feelings on that. But like, I also realized when I coached myself for Orlando, I enjoyed the process of that. I enjoyed learning and experimenting. And something about it, I did have a thrill with it. So it's like I'm winning shows and I'm getting third at the Arnold on my own. Why do I want somebody else?
Yeah.
Like, it just didn't seem right. It's like I'm on a winning path. Why do I want to change paths? Why do I want to take a different road? Like, and he wasn't pushy about it. He wasn't like, you have to work with me.
Yeah.
It was a situation though. I wish it was addressed differently, and I wish I would have been more aggressively on pushing this because, and I do say this, I've gotten snarky with people over the years. I've gotten very snarky with people. They'll post a picture of me like when I'm like at my best, and they're like, "Here's Justin winning the Golden State, coached by Hany Rambod." I'm like, no, no. Like, I get mad about it. I get straight up angry about
Yeah.
that
I read that he coached you. I thought he had coached you.
because I'm just gonna, just for YouTube's sake of not getting kicked off of here, getting your video taken down. But like, I absolutely hate someone who writes an article or makes a video without actually physically talking or speaking to that person first. So all those stupid articles out there, I mean, they didn't ask me anything first. And unfortunately, there's no laws against it. So I can go write an article on anybody right now, and it can be, as long as it's not defamation of character.
Yeah.
And there's no defamation in that. Like, it doesn't. And even if it is defamation,
It's so
like, you
hardcore,
have
yeah.
to be able to prove it affects you monetarily. And the thing is, people were always saying it like Hany was my coach, and I would always tell them, no, no. And even to this day, I still get maybe like once, maybe twice a month, somebody will repost a photo, and they'll be like, "Yeah, he was coached by Hany Rambod." I'm like, "No, I want credit to my work."
Yeah.
Like, it's not me mad at Hany. It's not me fussing. I want credit to what I did. So,
Yeah,
I dealt with that a lot. But I mean, again, I enjoyed coaching myself.
So what happened? Why have you not talked to Matt? Was it just after the Olympia? You guys just, I mean, I know you didn't really like put anything out there publicly, like blaming him or anything. So was there an issue? Or you guys just kind of like been busy in your own separate lives now?
I really don't know. And this is me just being as truthful as I know how to be. At this point, I've learned something. As the older I've gotten, I'm sure you probably feel the exact same way with just people in general. Like, when somebody just kind of distance themselves from you, I don't ask why. Like, if you want to be my friend, great. If you don't, no hard feelings, man. I'm not mad about it. But like, it is what it is. Now, to elaborate on that, 2017, I don't think I talked to many people at all, like verbally spoke to anyone. Like, I needed some I needed some help up here, just to be completely honest. That was a
Yeah.
horrible year of my life. I do not want to relive the thoughts that I had through that was pretty intense. But
Do you
I
think it was
do
related to anabolic use at all? I think that changed it and made it worse. Do you think that was just there?
no, 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 no. Like, I think when you take PEDs, it makes you a bigger person of whatever you are. Like, if you're a nice guy, you're just going to be a big nice guy. If you're a dick, you're just going to be a big dick. You know. Like, I personally do not believe in the roid rage thing.
Yeah.
I don't think it exists. Like, now I will say this: if you come, and this is a factor here, so hear me out on this, and I think everyone would agree. When you're taking a full blown cycle, about a gram at, I was a gram of test, 600 EQ, I think like 40 D ball, something like that. I stopped everything, all of it. No PCT, no TRT, no nothing. You come off. Anyone who has like normal testosterone levels and then all of a sudden you drop it to 81, that was as low as my test levels got, you're going to suffer depression, right? Like, that's a thing. And that's like, I think that's pretty medically well known as well. Like, low T can equal depression. So 2017, that was a whole, scrap of my life. But I do remember, Dave Berlow, right?
Hey, bro, no, I don't.
Mad
Sounds familiar.
Max. He's Jay Cutler's like best friend.
Oh, yeah, 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 yeah,
That
yeah,
Dave,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I like
Manager,
Dave a lot.
Manager Matt, right? No, that's not.
No,
That's
no,
not
no,
the
no,
thing.
no, no. The
Who am I
manager
thinking?
Matt.
Oh, he did the 10-minute walks with him, right, Dave?
Yeah, the
Yeah, yeah,
jaywalk.
yeah, 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 yeah. There we go. Okay, yeah,
Yeah, I like Dave, man. I always got along with Dave. I had to bust his balls on a Trump post like recently. He didn't like too much of the thing.
yeah.
I don't do the politics topic.
Yeah.
I won't do the politics topic. But Matt was at not manager Matt. We're talking about the other Matt. So he was at Jay's house doing an interview, and this was the first time like I kind of felt a certain way about it, but I was like, at the time it did kind of bother me, but I didn't understand. I remember they asked him a similar thing of like, hey, how did you get started? Like 2 years ago, we didn't know who you are, and here you are now. Like,
I've heard
you're
this.
coaching top guys. And he goes, well, it all got started when I met Flex Lewis, and Flex introduced me to Dallas. And Dave called him out on camera. Dave was like, thought Justin did that. I don't need credit to that, man. I don't give a shit. Like, I help people all the time. I may put you in contact with this guy. I don't need credit for you. That's petty. And I read it and I was like, oh wow. I was like, damn, he just like omitted me right out of the fucking equation. Like, all right, buddy, whatever. I didn't think anything about it. Like, I really didn't. I was like, maybe he's got prep brain. Like, he was still like, he'll still tag me and stuff from time to time. I'm like, that's kind of odd, Like, it never really bothered me, but it kind of did in a way.
Yeah.
Like, I wasn't bothered from like an angry standpoint. It's like one of those things where I can think of 2 or 3 other names of people in this industry right now that I considered like not just a friend, but like I have very few people that I consider close friends. And I considered these people close friends, and I considered Matt a close friend too at that time. And I don't have any beef with the guy. Like, I don't not like him. There was never a falling out or anything like that. So, I hear that, and then I kind of start hearing a few things, and again, these are things that I can't verify because how people like to, some people I think just like to stir the pot. So, I hear a couple things here and there, and I'm like, wow, it's like, I guess something went wrong, that somebody missed a memo. Maybe I missed a memo. He did. I don't know. I was like, all right, cool. Didn't think anything about it. And then so he lives about 15 minutes from me, 15 or 20 minutes. Yeah, so I live. Yeah, it's weird, right? Like, we both were in Kentucky, in Lexington, Kentucky, and then I think he moved to Tennessee, and I moved to Jacksonville, Florida. Then he moved to Stuart, Florida, and now I live in I live in Port St. Lucie, Florida. Port St. Lucie and Stuart, we border. Like, it's like I go about 2 miles this way. I'm in.
You go to the Raw
Stuart.
gym? You go to his gym? The new one?
I've never set foot. I think Matt's more affiliated with Revive.
Yeah, yeah.
And he's got to be with Raw too, because I mean they're like sister companies to my knowledge.
Yeah.
But I have set foot in Raw. It's a nice gym.
The new one in Port St. Yeah, it looks sick.
Yeah, I like that one because it's actually not overcrowded. The way that they designed that, like the business model. So if you walk in, you can't. Like, if you were to just fly in here and say, I'm going to go train at Raw, you can't.
Oh, no.
You have to be accompanied by a member.
Okay.
Or you can purchase a membership, but I'm saying you can't just do drop-in day passes.
Yeah, I can do a day. Yeah.
But I like that though, because all these little social media kids around here, you don't have tripods set of everyone, because they're in there because it's the Raw. They're not in there because it's a badass gym. Take the name Raw off of it. They wouldn't go there.
Yeah.
They literally wouldn't be there. Take the word Bumstead, get him out of Revive, get him out of Raw. they wouldn't go there. Like all
Mhm.
like you're going to have your locals, your members are still going to be your members, but those drop-ins, the social media influencers that come there, they're not coming anymore. So I think a lot of people, hell, one of them, my neighbor across the street, he told me he stopped going to Revive because he got tired of the tripods set up everywhere.
Yeah.
So I'm sure, Dom seems like a very, very business savvy guy. Like, I don't think he's going to let anything come between him and his baby here.
Yeah.
So I'm sure he's heard, like, hey, man, I'm quitting the gym because I don't like the tripods. And I'd say he probably is like, okay, we got to do something because we can't afford to lose business because somebody wants to shoot a YouTube video.
Yeah.
Which, I don't know, but I do know that when I was at Raw, there was maybe one or two, like, you're allowed to film in there.
Yeah.
I just know that the clientele is low.
Yeah.
Now, it may be different at like 5 p.m., but I won't go to no gym at 5 p.m. I would say, if it's 5 o'clock, I ain't training. That's
No
retarded.
way.
Can't do that. But no, I remember when I moved down here, the first 3 months, I did nothing but like little side home repairs, like on my house. Like when I bought this house that I'm in right now, it needed nothing but just like a handyman. And I knew how to do most of it myself. And if I didn't, YouTube helps, right? So I can't hate on YouTube. I gotta love YouTube.
Well, that's the one bad thing about taking away the thumbs down is on the do it yourself and the how to fix shit up. Like that kind of
Yeah,
sucks.
yeah. So the first 3 months, I don't think I set foot in a gym at all. Like when I moved down here, I was focused on just getting my house the way I wanted my house. Obviously I got 2 dogs and stuff. So like I'm focused on this and trying to start my life down here. I think it was like 3 months, maybe 4, maybe 5. I really don't know. I mean, I'd have to go look at my phone. As a matter of fact, the other phone that I don't have right now. And I remember shooting Matt a message and saying, hey, look, I don't know if you know I live in this town or not, but like I'm like 15 minutes from you. If you want to grab lunch or something, cool. Like, let's do it. And he writes back, and the typical Matt lingo, because and I'm not picking on him for this. People make fun of him for saying buddy, right?
No,
Like they
I
always
heard
make fun.
that.
And I thought it was cool. Like, whatever. That's like Matt's trademark. He's like, hey, buddy, yeah, I'd love to. I'm busy this week, but maybe next. I was like, cool, let me know. Never heard from him ever again.
Just one of those things. Yeah.
When it's something like that, I'm just like, all right, well, I did my part. I
Yeah.
reached out. Like, I'm the type of guy that if I have a problem with you, you will know it.
Yeah.
Like, I will confront you, either call you, text you, or if I see you in person. Like, if I had a problem with him, I'd drive my ass right over to Revive right now, and I would just call him out right to his face. But I don't have a problem.
Yeah.
I'm a very confrontational person.
That's good.
So,
That can be good. It helps you like not sit on shit, and let it
yeah,
fester.
like I call out a problem when I see it. Like I'm not one to let stuff fester and build up. Like if it's with a friend, like if a friend says something that, and it very rarely ever happens, I would say something like, "Hey, man, don't say shit like that." Like I'll just call you out. Like, and it doesn't mean like I hate you. It doesn't mean we
Yeah.
can't go on being friends. Because
Yeah.
I've had my friends tell me like, "Hey, Justin, that's fucked up, man. Don't do that." I'm like, oh, and sometimes you need that, right?
Yeah.
You need
Sometimes you
people to check.
realize. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's why like my close group of friends that I do have, like we have no problem checking each other if we need to. But yeah, like I said, I can be a very like confrontational person. So like if I have beef with somebody, I would rather just handle it.
It's
Rather
good that you guys.
verbally.
Yeah.
What?
Right. It's good that you guys don't have any problems, but it's like, I know you were doing things to help yourself as well. It's not like you were just being like trying to boost his career, but it's like I haven't had a lot of people do a lot of things that helped me. So it's like anytime I have someone that's done something that's really helped my career go along, I always kind of keep that in mind and try to keep that connection.
Yeah, that doesn't bother me. I mean, I'm actually happy that the kid's making a lot of money.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, this is, even though it's not a small town, anything in bodybuilding is small town vibes because it's a small community. Like, I actually caught wind of like how much he made last year, and I was like, "Holy!"
Yeah. He's
Like,
killing it.
but good for him. Like he got 2 kids and a wife. Good for him. Like I'm not hating it. It ain't anywhere near my income, but like I'm not mad nor am I jealous about it.
Yeah.
Keep making that money. Keep doing you, man. I wouldn't
Yeah.
turn that down either. So like,
I mean, you started that process, which is kind of crazy.
yeah, I mean,
I'm not saying
don't do
it
nothing.
could have, maybe it happened on its own eventually, but you definitely jump
It
started all
probably
that.
it probably would have, and it could have. Like that's why like I'm not like some people always like they want credit for something, and I'm the type of guy like I have prepped right now around 4 or 5, I think 4 because, yeah, one of them didn't quite finish. I've prepped 4 people that I didn't post, 4 people that got their pro cards that I did not post. The reason why is they're coaches themselves, and they wanted to make it. They actually asked me if I could not post it, and I was like,
I don't give a
whatever,
shit. You can
like,
post me.
I got paid, and I did my job, and
That's
I
kind of
got
shady.
paid.
A
And
little
I'm not
bit.
like, yeah, you can take credit to yourself. That's fine. I don't need credit to it. I got paid. That's what matters.
That's funny. Now, I had somebody asked a question. They wanted to know like what you credit the freaking crazy gains you made over that, like I guess the year and a half span that you were talking about. Like what pushed you? Because you grew like crazy. What was the main thing? Was it something in your training style? You changed your diet, some subs?
Um, so this is kind of it's going to be a long-winded answer on this. Before we get into training, subs, nutrition, before we touch on that, I do want to say that I think if you look at my body weights from one show to the next, I was consistently doing like 10 to 15 pounds per year, sometimes a little bit less. I think for 2012 to 13, it was only like 7 or 8, which is fine. That's still good. But I do think that once you get to a certain size level, that extra 5 pounds, 10 pounds changes everything. It gives you a holy shit, a wow, like this boom, like the wow factor. And I think me going from like 232 in Chicago to 244 in Orlando, that was the wow factor that my body needed. That's what set me from an average pro to a good pro. And I'll give you a good example, someone competing right now. Martin Fitzwater, right?
Yeah.
So Martin's always been good. He's been like, I've told that kid he's good before when he was an amateur. Like when I saw him at North Americans in like 20, I don't know, 18, 19 range, 20, like he's been good for a while. However, he's always been able to get hard. He's always been lean. He's always been muscular. But the past 12 to 18 months, it's not like Martin's 260 on stage. Like he's not like that heavy. He's big, but he's not heavy. However, his physique now with like an extra 10 pounds is like, like say you're looking at a lineup of guys like, yeah, he's in shape. But now it's like, oh shit, who's this guy? Like I'm talking about that it factor that you have. And I do think it required like a certain level of muscularity, density, and maturity. And I think once you get to that, that's when your physique will change. Like Martin's there right now. He didn't gain 20 pounds, but he kind of looks like he did.
Yeah.
Because now he doesn't have any holes. There's no gaps. There's no like, oh, he needs more upper chest, his lower lats, it's filled in. Didn't gain 20 pounds, but I think that's ultimately what happened to me. Like when I did the Chicago Pro, I was 232 and I was 12 pounds heavier. Sorry, 244. I was 12 pounds heavier the following year in Orlando. What I did, I've always been kind of I don't want to say an architect, but maybe that's what you would call it. I looked at my own physique and I was like, you need more here. You need to fix this. You need more detail on this. And I analyzed every single muscle group and I said, okay, you're not done with anatomy. You're not done with exercise physiology. Let's put the plan together. So I started, instead of just going to the gym and say, I'm going to train chest today, I would go in and I would think, okay, you need to specifically target more upper chest or like say shoulders. I didn't just go into a shoulder routine. I'm like, all right, you need a little bit more cap on your shoulder. You specifically need more rear delt. And ironically, I shot a shoulder training video today kind of explaining some of this too. But like I was very nitpicky on training, like super nitpicky. And I realized, okay, back the weight off, exercise execution, perfection. Nothing less than perfection is going to be acceptable. Diet, you're going to have 0 slips, none whatsoever. If it ain't scheduled, you ain't eating it. So I kept that very consistent. Now, this is the part where we're going to talk about like supplements. That's going to blow people's mind. My cycle didn't change. Same cycle.
Yeah.
And I know there's guys watching this right now. They're like, you're bullshit, Justin. You're lying.
No.
I know they're going to be
growth is the same too. Growth stay the same. Everything.
No, let me think. 2013. No, it did go up. It did. It went from 6 to 8 because I started. Do you remember Rip Tropins?
Yep.
Oh,
yeah, that's
my hands hurt thinking about that stuff.
Yeah, I used to think that was so good. I was like, this is the only thing that gives me this fucking numbness. It must be so strong.
So I use this something called Elitropins, ELI,
Yep.
green
Yep.
tops.
I know
Counterfeit.
exactly.
They were 100%.
Yeah.
I used those for like a year and a half, and I thought I was like taking GH. And I remember my buddy, he was using the yellow tops from IP, and those were real.
Yeah.
And he told me on 3 units, his hands hurt him so bad. We were both in college at the time. He said his hands hurt him so bad he couldn't write a paper. Like it was that bad. And I was like, dude, you're just being a puss. Like I'm doing 7 and I don't feel anything. He goes, I don't know what to tell you. I was like, I don't either. I switched over to the rips and I started with 8. So I basically started I think it was 8. Pretty sure it was 8. It's been over 10 years.
Yeah.
Hear me out. It was not an entry level dose.
Yeah. Yeah.
And within 1 week, I realized I screwed up. So I stopped it completely for a few days, let it clear my system. I was like, okay, 3. And at 3, I felt a little bit of side effects, but not crazy. And I went to 4, and I'm like, I can't do more than this.
Yeah.
Like I am absolutely miserable on 4. Now, obviously, your body adjusts to that over time. So this was before 2014, before my boom, so to say.
Yeah.
But I remember I had to go from 4 to 5 to 6 to 7 to 8 and eventually up to 10. And that, I guess, 6 to 8, like I don't think that's what actually, like the actual anabolics didn't change.
Yeah.
I've always been very basic. I don't want to say it's low. I don't want to say it's high because that's all relative, like depending on who's hearing it. I kept that kind of stuff the same. You know, everyone would assume that those numbers went up based on my size. Those numbers stayed exactly the same. The GH, though, like I said, was like 4, 6, 8, and 10. 10 was the max. I don't rip on people for taking more. I used to like heavily criticize people for taking more than. I'm like, dude, what are you doing? Like, you need to quit. Now it's more like, hey, if you feel comfortable doing this and this is what it takes to get the job done, do what you need to do. Because I realized at the end of the day, if that's what it took for me to do it, I probably would have done it.
Yeah.
Just to be point blank honest. Yeah. Like if someone said you need 100 mgs of tren a day, I would have done it. If someone said you need 200 a day, I would have done it. I didn't need it because I was able to get the job done, but I would have. Like there's nothing that was going to stop me. You know, I guess it's kind of like talking about Dallas and like he feels good. Like I was young and dumb too. The only difference is I was growing at a rapid pace. So it's like
so was Dallas.
He was growing more rapid than I was. So, you know, I realized though, now the difference in me and him is like, I say the difference. I have no idea how to screw.
Yeah.
I don't know if he grew up with money or not with money, but like, I didn't grow up having money. So like using these heavy amounts hurt my wallet. So even if I wanted to do it, I wasn't going to be able to afford it, not naturally pay the bills around the house at the same time. Yeah. So that was kind of like the journey with that. Like I personally just felt it come down to me being an absolute, what's the word I'm looking for here? Shelby used this word one time, kind of like a hermit crab.
Yeah.
You know, like I stayed in my shell and I just simply focused on being the best bodybuilder I could be. Like
it's a bodybuilding monk.
Monk. Yeah. I would literally, and this is not a healthy relationship with bodybuilding. I'm not telling anybody else to follow my lead because it's not mentally healthy what I did. I would have to plan my day, and whatever plans I had in that day, I would have to ask myself, is this going to worsen your career? Is this going to keep you the same, or is it going to make you better? And if it kept me the same or made me better, I was good with it. And when I say, like, theoretically, if we go out and we party all night long one time, is that going to affect my placings a year from now? No. But I didn't see it that way. I was like, one alcohol drink, it's not going to benefit my body. No, not doing it. Christmas, New Year's, cool, not doing it. Like, oh, you have a nice Thanksgiving dinner. That's cool. You guys enjoy it. I'm going to sit right over here and eat what I want to eat. Like, I literally took it to that level where I had to ask myself, like, is this going to make you a better bodybuilder? If the answer is no, didn't do it.
Is that part of the reason why you stepped away? Like, I don't remember if you ever had an injury or any health things.
Oh, I had several things happen there.
Were you planning on coming back, or it was just like you knew you were done?
I blew back up to like 270, 280. And I didn't tell anybody that because I was so irritated in 2017 that like when I'm hearing all this stuff, I was so irritated by it. What I wanted to do was to come back, do one show, and it was like a final F you to everyone. Be like, there, I won the show. You're never going to see me again, but I won the show. Now shut up. Go eat those words. I never did go through with it.
Was it more like, did you have like physical injuries, or did you have like more medical stuff going on that you had to like
I
get
had
sorted out?
both. I
Yeah.
had both. I was sorting out both as I was figuring it out. Just tragic, unfortunate events, man. I mean,
Yeah.
I think I had 3 active injuries going on in 2017 as well. Like I didn't go to the gym for 6, 7 months.
Yeah.
Like that's why I said I became a head basket. Like I'm not gonna say there was or was not some fist fights involved there too, because like my temperament was 0. Or sorry,
Yeah.
my tolerance was 0. My temperament was 10.
Yeah. No
Like
outlet.
what?
You had no outlet. You lost your gym.
Yeah, I mean, like everything. Like I had spent 2 weeks in the hospital. My shoulder was out. I couldn't drive hardly because I'm left-handed. It was my left arm. I couldn't physically take a right turn. Like, I mean, I drove, but I was dangerous driving.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't safe for me to be behind the wheel. So like I didn't know anything else at that point in my life. I'd been a bodybuilder since I was 14 years old. And that was basically 14-ish years of my life that I did not know how to be a normal person. I didn't know how to go out to dinner, like not on a regular basis. I didn't even know how to dress like a normal person.
Were you single at this time or in a relationship at all?
This was no, I was in a relationship at that time. And
Sure, plenty of
honestly,
fun.
yeah, like at the time, I guess I don't want to use the word narcissist, but like I probably did indeed blame her for everything. When in reality, it probably wasn't her fault at all. It was probably just straight up here. But like I was pointing fingers. I was just bitter. I mean, we got along pretty well, but I can't help but think she had to be able to see like
Yeah.
Justin's going through some, and she knew too. Like she knew everything about me, or at least everything I ever told her. So that ultimately came to an end. Lasted like 8 months or so at that time. But I mean, to backpedal on that, just to say, like I had been prior to that, I had been dating the same girl for around 3 years, and we had split up. So essentially, that relationship ended. And at first, I'm not gonna lie, like the first week of her moving out, I was like, "Fuck yeah, man! I got an empty house. This is amazing."
I know
And then it's
exactly what
like,
you're saying.
eventually, like when you come home, there was a couple times I come in like, "Hey, oh yeah, there's nobody here, just me."
Yep.
But and that kind of hit hard because I was living in Florida. My parents, my whole family lived in Kentucky. I had maybe 2 friends in Jacksonville, 2 or 3 at that time. So I didn't have any friends there. And the girl I was dating, who at that time I thought was like the one, and we split up. I lose the Ferrigno, which I did not anticipate because I had different plans.
Did Nate win that?
Yeah.
Nate won. Okay.
I lost that. That mentally screwed with me. That was the tip of the iceberg. When I lost that show, I actually had a couple of foul words with Sandy after the final. Yeah. Yeah, that was kind of the tip of the iceberg.
I'm sure she's had it a lot. She's used to it.
Yeah, I don't think she took it very nice. I don't think she took it very kindly coming from me, because I think Sandy actually viewed me as like maybe not a friend, but like close to, like as close as thing you can be to a friend. She viewed me. I was like in between acquaintance and friend.
Oh,
The fact that I popped off at her with a few words I probably shouldn't have. It was an emotional reaction, is what it was.
yeah.
In hindsight, I wouldn't say that to her. Like
Yeah.
if I run into Sandy, I haven't seen Sandy since that day. It was the last time I've ever ran into her. It's been 7 years since I've seen that lady. I mean, I'm not going to sit up and say I'm not going to run up and grab her and bear hug her. No,
Yeah.
but I might actually apologize to her.
Yeah. Yeah.
And getting me to apologize is not easy. That's the Taurus in me. But no, so like I'm dealing with all this, and then pop 2 injuries, end up in the ER, and let's see what else. Oh yeah, contracts all went away too. So money went out the window. So it's like, holy shit, like it was like the hugest snowball effect ever. And I got to the point where like if you looked at me wrong, I'm just gonna sucker punch you. Like and that's horrible the way that I feel like
Yeah.
I treated people. Like I was not homicidal. No, I didn't want to kill anybody.
You were
But
still
like,
really young, you know?
yeah, and it took me a little while. And but you know what? Now that I'm older, I appreciate those
Uh,
times because those bad times made me into a better person than I am today.
yeah, you would
Like
react totally different now, you know?
I personally think that like someone who has never endured hard times in their life, they don't know what struggle is actually like. And struggle is different. Like that's a broad topic. You know, you can struggle in many different ways. I feel like if you don't struggle, it doesn't mean you're weak or anything. But I feel like a man who's been through struggle, overcame a lot of issues in his life, is going to be mentally a lot stronger human being.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like if you took a cancer patient, right? He's battled chemo for 5 years or ever how many, I don't even know how that works. I feel like 5 years is a long time.
Pretty long time to be going through chemo.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't personally have any friends that's
That's
done it, so I
good.
don't
You're
know.
good. You don't want to know a lot about it.
Yeah, I know, right? But it's like if you have somebody who's done that, I can guarantee you his perspective on life is significantly different than the guy who's been healthy for 25 years and doing his thing.
Yeah, definitely. Man, let's switch gears real quick. I've been keeping you a while, man. I appreciate it. Sorry. Let's talk real quick about this season and then Olympia, if you got a second.
Okay,
Um,
good.
what'd you think about Hunter in Italy?
So Hunter and Ben need to go back to the drawing boards. And it's not a big thing. I just think it's something little. And this is, I hope if they listen to this, I hope that they use this as constructive criticism and not hate because it's not hate at all. The videos I saw of Hunter at a week out was significantly better than what he was on stage. I don't know what that was, but like Hunter definitely, and this is not a knock on Andrea Presti. Is that right?
Yeah, yeah,
It's not a knock on him, but like Presti has never been a top level guy. He's great. He's made it to the Olympia like multiple times, but he's never been a top level Olympian. He did not slam the door shut against Presti. Like
mm-hmm.
I think Presti was right there in the mix with him. I think the only thing that saved Hunter on that was his legs being significantly bigger, where Presti's kind of tall and thinner in the legs.
It was 100%.
If Presti had 2 inches more on his legs, I would have gladly given him that win because Hunter kind of loses his pop, that wow factor. Because
he did look very
he's
polished.
Another one of those,
yeah.
He's another one of those white boys that has really bubbly round muscles. But Hunter don't always have the bubbly round muscles. He's the guy who can go flat. Like when I was flat, you couldn't really tell it, but you can with him. So I don't know what went wrong there, but I don't know if it was lack of water. That's usually why people end up flat. They think it's carbs, but it's usually lack of water. Or maybe he overcarbed and just spilled just a tiny bit. Again, you'd have to show me this is what I did Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. If I saw that, I'd be able to maybe pinpoint it down. But I don't think that was Hunter's best. I think now 1 week out, I said, everybody else should just go home. Like he looks great. So they need to go back to the drawing boards and try to eliminate that problem. So if I was them, you can't really advise a coach on how to I'm just talking shit right now.
Yeah.
But if I was them, I would say, hey Hunter, we're going to get you ready and we're going to pretend that the Olympia is 2 weeks before it actually is. And we're going to peak again 2 weeks out. Like you don't want to do it a week out because that's just too risky. Yeah. But I would say, hey, I've actually never had to do this with a client, but I do have a guy I'm considering doing it with because and just be truthful. If any coach ever tells you he's nailed it 10 out of 10 with every single client, he's lying. There's nobody that's nailed every single client perfectly, right? No. Like there's always going to be some. Now, if you work with somebody for like 6 shows and you still ain't nailing it, that might be you with that. Yeah. Like I've worked with this guy twice now and we improved both times, but we still did not get it where I want it to be because I know he's capable of it, but his body is very, very finicky. What I would do with like Hunter and the Ben situation, and this is probably what I'm going to recommend my boy do next year, is we're going to pick 2 weeks before the show. And I'm going to say, I even want you to go get a spray tan. I literally want this to mimic just like you're going on stage. And that way you can kind of, it almost gives you an extra trial run, but you're just looking at things, trying to pinpoint what you're doing wrong. As a matter of fact, I think I know exactly what I've done wrong in my case. I actually pulled the guy's water line. Took him from like 8 liters to 4 liters. I'm going to give him 8 liters all the way to the day before the show, not
I
cutting
think
it
that
off.
might be me too. I did the same thing. I cut my water down pretty kind of aggressive same way. And as I just started drinking more, I'm like, Jesus, I'm filling out so much. Not like you said, not always the food. Sometimes it's the
Yeah,
water.
it's usually the water, man. Like that's why, like I feel like when I first got into the game, I was a little bit more aggressive on diuretics. I'm the opposite now. As I have aged and learned and got more wisdom with the sport, I realized that's not the meal ticket. Like, and this is one thing, like, for example, like me and Hany had a lot of conversations. And there's certain things that I wouldn't stab him in the back and talk about publicly. But I can also tell you this with him, he's not really big on it either. The internet will sit here and tell you that he does this, he does this, he does this. I know damn good and well that's not true because I've had very like close conversation, like in the car, like driving for 2 hours. So like he's also very conservative with it. Now George is Mr. I don't use diuretics, which is not 100% true because he definitely does. But yeah, that's usually most people's biggest mistake. But back to Hunter and Ben, I just think Hunter went backwards by about 10 to 15%. Like it was still enough to close the door here, but like if he brings that look to the Olympia, it's not first call out.
Nope. No.
It's not going to be first call. And the thing is, I hate to say this because I like Hunter and I like his physique. Even if Hunter's 100%, he's still going to have a hard time getting in the first call at 100%.
I mean, him at 100%, I would see him having to beat out maybe Martin for that first call out. I don't know if he does at 100%. That's kind of how I don't think he's going to be 100%. Hunter's never 100%. He seems hard to land for whatever reason. So,
Well,
but if he was, I would see him with
Derek and
Martin.
Hany that's probably going to fight for 1 and 2.
Yeah.
And
so let's go through your top 10. You got which one you got winning?
I got Derek winning.
There. Okay.
I think this would be him and Hany's third. No, this will be their 4th prep together. Mm-hmm. I think because the 212 Olympia 212, and then second place and then a win.
First, yeah.
So I think I hate to say it, but I actually would say it's water with Derek too, because you ever notice like he looks a little flat in the front on stage. I'd be willing to bet that's water with him as well. So if Derek fixes that, he's going to be absolutely untouchable. And I don't see any, like, I feel like Derek is a solid first. Hany is a solid second.
Have you seen Hady's updates though? I'm a little, not definitely not like the Arnold updates. He doesn't look as far as ahead. Remember for the Arnold, so close to the Olympia, he looked fucking ready 6 weeks out, 8 weeks out. He's definitely further off. I mean, he's known for coming in killed, but if he doesn't come in with that Arnold conditioning, I could definitely see Samson overtaking him.
Possible. Well, okay, yes. If he doesn't have his signature conditioning, Samson could get him.
Have you seen his updates at all?
No, I haven't seen them recently. But I will, since we're going to talk about Samson, I think Samson has a guy on his radar that might take him down. You know who I'm talking about. Yes.
Yeah, that's so good. It's fucking Nigeria. It's just like the North Americans winner. We'll say they got that Nigerian genetics. It was the same thing as the North Americans winner. Like, yeah, 2 of the top 4 are Nigerian. Yeah.
Like Andrew, when he won the Texas Pro the first time, I'm not gonna lie, I did kind of hate on that a little bit. I was like, man, this guy's got talent. He's got potential. And he shows up soft. I was like, waste of talent, pathetic. And I did. That's probably my exact words, maybe even harsher than that. And it's not because I don't like the guy. It's because
That's when he beat Martin. That's pretty close, right?
Yeah.
The first, yeah.
Yeah, and it's not because I don't like the guy. I want to see that physique at 100%. And it's like Flex Wheeler. He's not Flex Wheeler. Nobody will ever be Flex Wheeler. But like if Flex Wheeler didn't, what was it he was notorious for doing? Like eating out and then hiding the wrappers under the seat.
Yeah, you'd always sabotage himself.
Like if Flex Wheeler could have like actually gotten in shape, he would still be the most talked about name in bodybuilding. And I think if Andrew got a little bit harder, but I think Andrew continues to get better and better. Flex kind of got worse. Yep. Like from that 93 Arnold, there would be no Dorian Yates. We wouldn't even know who Dorian Yates was if he could have replicated the 93 Arnold year after year at the Olympia.
Yeah.
But he couldn't do it. But, you know, with Andrew, like, I think everyone at that era probably wanted to see Flex 100% because, like, nobody hated on Flex. Nobody doesn't like. It's not that they don't like Flex. It's just they want to see like perfection, and he's the guy who can deliver perfection. Like, if you don't have the genetics, you can do all you want, man. You can get in shape, but you still ain't gonna have a perfect physique. Flex had the opportunity to have the perfect physique, and Andrew's not too far off on that. He's not like Flex, not as gifted as Flex was, but like something about the guy, he has a wow factor, like a way big wow factor on Andrew, way more than Samson, in my opinion. So, because Andrew's lines, like, a lot of people want to say it's where Samson is so dark. I don't know, man. I think it's just a genetic thing, like the depth of the like the striations. Andrew's is deeper. And Andrew, I think, is a little bit lighter skin than Samson, though. So maybe it is the actual, literally the darkness of his skin. I'm not sure. But I think Andrew will shine because I think Andrew will have a little bit more detail than Samson. And I don't like Samson can usually stand next to most guys and make them look small. He ain't going to make Andrew look small. Andrew,
maybe on the side poses. Well, maybe that side chest I'd try possibly, but not the fronts and probably not the back.
I don't know, man. I think Andrew's going to, I think he's going to be bigger than Samson.
No, no way. Samson's fucking huge right now. Have you seen him? He is so goddamn big. He's like 310 ripped.
Andrew's like 290 on stage in Texas.
I know he's got like 2.5 inches on Samson too. Like I think Samson's legs are just so fucking big. You know, that's really where the weight is.
You got to think about this too, though. Phil Heath was like 240 when he won his first Olympia, but he looked bigger because he was thick
front to back too. You know, when you turn to the side, he had that thickness. That's really the only area that Andrew's losing like poses to the top 5 guys. Like he fucking kills the front poses.
Yeah, think about the side poses. He has those nice etched out abs.
Oh yeah, no, he looks fucking phenomenal.
And he hits those abs.
I like the way he's doing this exercise now, especially. But the one I'm talking about mainly is his tight chest. That's probably his weakest pose. He poses it kind of
100%. That's definitely his weakest pose.
Yeah, but I mean, yeah, he put on some size. He looks phenomenal.
And that's a good pose for Samson as well.
Yeah, I mean that's really the biggest difference. I think the back will be close. I think the hamstrings of Samson are just so crazy that might sway to him. But I probably would give Andrew every front pose against Samson at this point.
So I think I'm going to go Andrew 3rd and Samson 4th. But if it's flip flop, I have no argument to that either. And then 5th.
This is where it gets tricky, right?
Yeah, I mean, you got to put Nick in there somewhere.
I would probably go with Nick in 5th.
Yeah. I'm going to go a solid 5th on Nick. And then after that, it's really not a first call out because they usually do like 6 or 7 guys.
They'll probably pull 6. So who do you think will slide in that first call out?
I want to see him do it. I think you could see. Wait, is Brett doing the Olympia this year?
No, he's doing the Legion to qualify for next year. So right after or right before that, Legion's like in 2 weeks, 3 weeks.
Okay,
that'll be for the next Olympia.
I would like to see. Help me out if I'm missing a name or two here. I'd like to see Martin slide up in the 6. That would be epic.
I mean, that's what I see happening too. Yeah.
I don't know if he's ready for that or not yet, but I would like to see that.
Yeah, I mean
that would.
He's so complete.
Yeah, I don't know who's gonna take him down. I can see Martin getting past Hunter unless Hunter actually pulls a magic trick and nails the conditioning because he's bigger than Martin. He's definitely more muscular, and both of them have the symmetry. So there's that. But Martin is consistently in shape too.
I mean, Martin looked a little smaller than Nick, but he held his own. So I think Hunter would have to be perfect to beat Martin.
And the thing is, I don't know how much improvements Martin's made since the New York. I mean,
He's talked about it a couple pounds. I forgot what he was saying. He's pushed a little bit off of the rebound.
I think if you give Martin one more year, he's surpassing Nick.
I do too, for sure.
I think he's surpassing Nick, and Martin's going to be solidified in a top 5.
He's got that same mentality as Nick. That just fucking everything is about reaching my goal.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So that's probably my first call out is Derek, Hany. They'll be compared. And then I think the next 2 comparisons is going to be Samson and Andrew. And then after that, it's going to be Martin and Nick again.
Yeah. And so I don't think Behrooz will make it, but I think he could have potentially been in that 6 or 7 slot.
That's why I didn't omit him. I actually think Behrooz could probably slide to 5th.
Yeah. I wish Nathan could make it.
I think Nathan could probably slide up as high as as high as 6, but Nathan ain't coming either.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Now,
think it'll be
Bonnick.
Raphael, Randall, Bonnick. Who else will be in that little?
Roth has the best. Roth arguably has the best structure up there,
Yeah.
but he's just does not have the density that these guys have.
I mean, his back is looking better, but that's where he kind of loses it. But they love, and if he can come in peeled, I mean, his physique's really different when it's peeled to the bone, like he was with Aceto.
That's what I'm saying, man. He looks absolutely crazy.
We're forgetting about Curry too.
Structurally, it's almost flawless. It's not fully flawless, but it's almost there.
Great
but
quads.
Again, I'm worried if he actually does truly get into shape, maybe then I think it's going to be a size thing because he's not the biggest guy.
So you put Bonnick over him?
Probably, yeah.
What about Curry? We're forgetting about Brandon. Everyone forgets about Brandon.
This is the thing about Brandon, man. I like Brandon, and I'm glad that Brandon won his Olympia. But like, I guess the reason we're overlooking him is like they may. I don't see how Brandon can beat these guys structurally. I mean, yeah, he's whipping. Structurally, I think he's beating every single one of them. Like Brandon may be the best bodybuilder from a structure standpoint that we have.
When they do that silhouette and he's back there, before he comes out, that's fucking crazy looking.
That's what I'm saying. Brandon might have the best structure, but you also got to consider what's the first body part that usually goes on men as they age.
Yeah.
He never had good legs to begin with, and they also don't get 100%. Talking about the deep cuts, deep lines.
Yeah.
Brandon don't have those deep lines, and getting him into shape, getting his legs up at 40, he's probably 45.
Yeah, I think it's 44, maybe
43 to 45. Yeah,
he's right up there. Yeah.
So that's why I'm kind of like pushing Brandon down to like 7th, 8th, maybe 9th.
I think Martin's going to push him out of the top 6. Yeah.
If he don't, I'd be very surprised. Brandon's prettier to look at than Martin is, unfortunately, but Martin gets in shape.
Yeah, his legs are
it's
so
hard
big.
to overlook that.
Yeah, I mean their legs are so different. What about one matchup I'm kind of looking forward to is John versus John. Jewett versus oh my God, De La Rosa. How do you see that going? These are two guys that are be fighting to make that top 10. I see them pretty comparable. John Jewett's improving a lot as he's getting
John
better.
Jewett.
John Jewett?
Yeah, I actually didn't have John De La Rosa winning Tampa.
You had going to Mo?
I would have went Mo or Jordan.
Yeah,
I
Jordan looked good.
John. Honestly, man, I was there at the show. I probably would have given John 3rd or 4th.
Yeah.
I know he would be highly offended when he sees this, but that's just my honest opinion because John's, I mean, there was a couple of years that I actually thought, I was like, man, he needs to retire. Like he's fucking good. And he brought it back. Like, he came back from like a down, I don't know what was caught. I'm assuming probably just
something divorce and all yeah, he had a lot of shit going
distractions,
on.
Yeah. That's my guess, my assumption. But John is not what he was in 2014, 15, and 16. And if John could bring that back, I would say, yeah, he's going to beat John Jewett all day long. But unless he does that, I don't think he can beat John Jewett. But like I said, I had Jordan winning the back shots and Mo winning the front shots.
Yeah, Jordan winning the back shots? Jordan's back is weak. That's the only thing I didn't like on him.
But Mo don't have any legs from behind.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I would give John the back shot. That was the only thing, at least the back double.
The reason I said I wouldn't give John the back double is he doesn't have, he has a pretty good back. But like, I feel like Jordan had more pop to it. And I think Jordan was in better shape than John.
Oh, he was. Jordan was probably the best conditioned person there.
That's why I thought Jordan could easily, I remember messaging him after the show and I was like, dude, I think you kind of got stiffed on this one.
Yeah, arguably, he looked great. What about the final qualifier of the year? You got Andrea Presta doing it. I'm assuming he'll probably win. You also got, I thought Vlad would do it, but he's not jumping in there. I've got Lewis Breed is probably the other big one that I'm thinking. Do you think Presta will take that?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. I think so as well.
I mean, unfortunately, he's going to be a third call out guy at the Olympia, but
he's improving though. Yeah, I mean, he's improving. His legs do look a little better.
Is he young?
I think he's younger. I think he's like early 30s or like late 20s. Yeah, he's not like
Thing
young
with
young. But
bodybuilders, man, you sometimes
you
can't
can't fucking
tell.
tell. Never could tell, right? You can be a
I've
black
had
dude who's
guys before
50
that's
looking like you're
25.
28.
I've seen guys that's 25 that look like they're well, not 60, but look like they're 45. And
Yeah,
I've seen guys 45 and 50 that look like they're 25.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
bodybuilding is it ages the hell out of some people, and others it does nothing to them at all.
Right. You got Regan still looks like a baby, 300 pounds.
Yeah, if Regan shaved his face, he would look like he's 21 probably.
Exactly. Sweet. Is there any other matchups you're looking forward to seeing at the Olympia at all? Anybody you'd like to see on stage next to each other?
Yeah, big one here. And it's not in the open though. It's
Who's that?
Keon and Shaun.
I see. I wish my fucking thing was working. I don't know why my videos were. I put up a picture of Keon because, fuck, he looks crazy right now.
Dude, for the longest time, he's another guy. Like, I like Keon as a person, and I like his physique. But I was so disappointed in him for the longest time because he never got in shape. And even last year, he wasn't in 100% shape. But
Well, he was in shape at the classic, so you knew he had the potential to do it too, which made it even more frustrating because he had to kill
yeah,
himself to make classic. He was so shredded. So it's like we've seen those cuts, not at the new size, but yeah,
I
we
think
knew he had potential.
I'll give Patrick a little shout out on this because I don't know. See, I'm not very good with the mental side of things. Like, I give you a plan. If you need to call me, call me. If we need to talk, we'll talk. But like, if I see something wrong on the plan, or sorry, if I see something wrong in like what you're giving me as the feedback, I just simply adjust and go on. And I'm getting better with this. Sometimes I'll be like, hey, man, talk to me. What's happening? What's going on up here? Because what's going on up here is affecting all this too. And with Keon, I just simply think he wasn't following his diet in the previous years. Somehow Patrick's got him to follow the diet.
He
And
gets his
now
people
that
to
he's
buy in
do what?
big time. He gets his people to buy in big time,
Yeah.
Patrick.
I mean, because Keon now, I think he's hungrier now than he ever has. Because my opinion, I think last year going into the Olympia, not at prejudge, but prior to prejudging, I feel like Keon's, and this is just because I've had a couple of very brief conversations with him and I've watched his interviews. I feel like he probably went into that show thinking, I'll be a top 5 guy, but not thinking I'm going to win this whole thing. Now that he's won it, I think he realizes all eyes are on him and he has to defend it. And that's a lot of pressure. And pressure, I mean, I don't remember the whole, I wish I could give a nice little analogy about
I know what you're trying to say.
stuff. But pressure was either going to make you or break you. And I actually think it's helped him.
Tremendously. Yeah.
So
He
I think
seems so much
having
more
that
confident.
load and carrying that weight on his shoulders, I think has made him a better bodybuilder. So now that he's got the throne, I think he's going to keep it. Like when I
Yeah, I
look
do
at
too.
it's just so fucked up though, man. Because I look at Shaun, I'm like, nobody can beat that. And I look at
No.
Keon, I'm like, oh shit, I don't know. Like
He just
very
that
seldomly,
structure.
it was kind of like a Hany and Derek, man. It's like very seldomly do you ever
Yeah.
have two people that like, hey, I don't really care which one you give it to. They're both great.
No,
Like usually at the Olympia, like think about the Phil Heath era. Like
yeah.
with Phil, it's like, yeah, Phil, here, Phil, take the Sandow. We'll just judge everybody else.
Yeah.
Ronnie, like
Yeah.
Ronnie, you won, and you just go on home. We got to judge, second through 20 now. But
Yeah. It'll be a two-man show.
with these two, it's actually a show.
Yeah.
Like, and you know what? I was talking about how Steve works people really hard. This would be a good opportunity.
Yeah.
Like when you have two people like that, like that's completely different, but also incredibly good. Maybe work them a little bit. See what happens. Like see if anybody starts sweating, see if anybody cracks. Better yet, I think after 4 rounds, though, maybe 5, then you got to call it. Because at
Yeah.
that point, I do feel like it's putting the athlete's health at
Yeah.
risk because they may not be dehydrated on diuretics, but they're a little low on one.
Yeah.
And, I feel like that stage light's being hot. Like the last thing you want to do is cause a guy to pass out because you were just trying to torture them.
Well, that's something you might want to keep in mind. Like you're saying, if you know who's judging, you might want to be aware of how much diuretics you got in your system and what your fluid balance is. You turned pro with Clarida, right? Didn't he turn pro at the same show?
Yeah, man, we turned pro together.
You ever imagine him winning open shows and shit when you
No,
turned pro with
man.
him? That's
I
crazy.
remember that night that I turned pro. I went back and I looked at the pictures from the overall. I was hanging out with my family. My mom and dad was there. And I went and looked at these pictures and I was like, wow. I was like, I mean, granted, when you're on stage, I don't look around.
Yeah.
I'm not looking at the light heavy or the super heavy. I'm doing me and I'm doing me only. But I remember looking at pictures. I was like, man, that's a little miniature Ronnie Coleman right there. I was like, pound for pound, he's got all of the speeds. Like, I remember thinking that. And my mom's not dumb with bodybuilding because she's followed my entire career journey. She knows every name that we've talked about on here. Maybe not the new guys, but the older guys.
Yeah.
She knows every single one of them. And you cut the head off of it, show her body, she'll tell you who it is.
That's awesome.
And I remember telling Mom, I said, you know what's really sad about Shaun turning pro tonight? And she goes, what's that? And I was like, his career began and it also ended today.
Mr. Olympia.
Because when we've never had a bantamweight, like, yeah, Dexter was a bantamweight, but he didn't turn pro as a bantamweight. He had to be a light heavy to turn pro.
Yeah.
We've never had a bantamweight turn pro to go on to become Mr. Olympia. But the thing is, what a lot of people don't know, Shaun was natural when he turned pro.
Oh shit.
I mean, he was 135 pounds, 138,
Yeah.
something like that.
There's not, no matter what, there's not a lot of people at nationals winning the class turning pro.
Correct. I think Shaun was actually a natural pro in like a different organization as well.
Oh yeah.
So that's why, like, when he gets on, he's able to make almost like the Ronnie Coleman, like obviously Ronnie was a freak, but when he got on, it just exploded. Yeah. And Shaun was literally like a mini Ronnie Coleman. He did the exact same thing. So I just remember when he did a couple of pro shows like shortly afterwards, maybe 13, 14 range. I think it was in New York, since I think he's in that area. And he was like third call outs. And I was like,
he always looked good.
Yeah, he looks good standing by himself, but where he's small statured and he didn't have as much muscle back then.
I remember people telling him to do classic when he first started, when that first came out.
Yeah. I mean, he would have been able to make the weight for it.
Yeah.
The thing is, I bet he's not far. Like, he's like 180 on stage, right?
Yeah. Now that's like the 5'7" weight cap for the classic.
Oh, what would his cutoff be?
Oh, he's like 5'2", right? I think it's like 156 pounds, 160 pounds.
Yeah, he's not gonna win.
No fucking way. But before,
but no, like I said with Shaun, I remember watching his career and watching his journey, and the first 3, 4, 5 years, I was like, yeah, man, you look great, but you should probably just, I didn't say this to him, but I was just thinking like, oh, this poor little guy, he loves the sport. He just, and then like, there was one year he made like the first call out, and I'm like, okay. Not the Olympia, but like in a pro show, I'm like, all right, he's actually holding his own next to the bigger guys. And then he wins one. I'm like, okay, he'll get murdered at the Olympia. And like, I hate to say it, but like, I had a little bit of doubt just because he's such a small frame guy. Like I said, pound for pound, he's got more muscle than anybody out there. I don't know anybody has that much muscle on a frame that size. And he's incredibly strong. And Shaun's actually one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet too.
I love
this one of those.
A couple times.
It's just one of those things, like, when you put Lee Priest, which Lee did beat Ronnie, there's that. When you put Lee Priest next to Tony Freeman, right? It kind of looks a little like it doesn't look right because of the height. And I always thought that Shaun would always be overlooked because of his height. And I will be his biggest. I'm his biggest fan on this too, because like I couldn't have been happier for anybody else to win that title but him.
Yeah.
I actually thought Derek was going to be next in line, but Shaun stepped up and took that. So I was happy for Shaun. Like the fact that like that's kind of a legacy in its own. Like you did something that's never been done in history. So like the guy's a legend to me.
He had the belief. He kept doing the New York Pro every fucking year and moving up every single year. So he won that.
Did he ever win the New York Pro?
Yeah, he won.
Okay,
I think he got second one year. I think he came back and won it the next. Yeah, that was
okay.
I think that was his original goal, before he realized he could win the Olympia.
But he's a good model for a bodybuilder because like he never gave up, man. He always believed in himself and he just kept coming back. He didn't complain. He didn't complain about the judges. He didn't just kept putting in his work, putting in his time, and it paid off for him. So like if more people had that attitude and mentality, we would see better bodybuilders today, I think.
Oh yeah.
And like
sure.
Shaun's work ethic is pretty hard to beat. You ever watch those training videos?
Yeah.
And the fact that he gets in the shape that he gets in, I don't think anybody's going to question his work ethic with diet. Like he's on point.
Never off. Yeah. Well, shit, man. I appreciate it, dude. This has been a while. I'm sorry for keeping you over. Thanks a lot,
You're
man.
good, man. I'm done for the evening.
Oh, cool. Did you work out today already? You working
Yeah,
out?
yeah. I
No.
trained shoulders right before I got on this.
Oh, that's why you look so pumped. I can see.
I'm not pumped right now. I'm actually the opposite of pumped because I decided to start dieting about 2 weeks ago.
Oh
And
yeah.
I'm not doing it the traditional Justin Compton style. I'm doing it not bodybuilding keto, but real keto, like
Oh shit.
110 grams of protein and like 300 grams of
Yeah.
fat.
I've done that. You feel really good mentally once it kicks
Mentally,
in.
I'm great.
Yeah.
Physically,
Did you lower the volume a little bit?
no, I
Yeah.
can't do that because I just love training.
Yeah.
Can't
That's
do it.
awesome. I
But
get it.
it does take its toll. Like when you get like that first set, you're like, fuck yeah, I'm strong. This is good. By
That's
set
it.
number two, it's like, oh, I'm gassed. Like
That's all you got.
yeah, that's about all you got. But yeah, I mean, it's been it's been fun. I know I've done this once in the past, and the first 2 weeks, if you can get past the first 2 weeks, it's not that bad.
Oh, it's
I
money
mean, it's
after the first
not
2 weeks. You
if you
feel
want to
good.
do it.
After the first 2 weeks, like I said, performance wise, you lose a little bit, but you feel like I felt great after the first 2 weeks
Yeah,
mentally.
have you done like this type of keto
Yeah,
before?
yeah, I've done like real keto. I did it with some fasting and stuff too.
I don't really mean to do it fasting, but I kind of do in a way by
It's just
accident
kind of
because my
not
sleep
hungry.
schedule is like, man, I need a doctor to just prescribe me tranquilizers. Like my sleep, if my sleep's bad, regardless of diet, regardless of circumstances, I'm gonna be the happiest man on the planet with zero stress. You could give me $100 million and I have no stress at all in my life. You could give me a Mr. Olympia physique. You give me whatever you want, and I'm still not gonna sleep.
What about like
Like
edibles, like THC?
I get high, but I don't
There's
sleep though.
the
Like
edibles put me down. Like the weed, maybe not so much, but the edibles will knock me down.
no, neither one really do it for me. I've tried
Mm.
both. I mean, it helps. It helps drastically, but it doesn't get the job done. But oh yeah, talking about fasting. So like this morning, I got up at like 4:45, and I wasn't supposed to. My alarm wasn't set. I got up and I was like, you know what? You're gonna wait till 9 o'clock to eat. No matter how hungry you are right now, we're just gonna stay right on the schedule. So I'll eat my last meal probably around 8:30 or 9. And at 9 in the morning, I'll usually walk around my neighborhood for 30 to 45 minutes, just depending on what I'm feeling that day. And I'm getting the first meal in at 10. So essentially, I'm doing about a 13, sometimes up to a 14, even a 15-hour fast. I don't intend to do it. It's just, I don't enjoy eating 6 times a day anymore. Even when I'm hungry, like I'm hungry, I'm starving right now, but I don't enjoy eating.
Yeah,
Like when you
that's because
eat,
you bodybuilt for fucking 15 years of your life. So I
that's
remember
what I'm
all of us.
saying. Like with the food volume that I used to eat, it's just like when you're like I tell people this, and I've had so many people call me a liar on this, but I got up to 8,500 clean calories a day. 8,500, yes. And there's no fast food in there. There's no weight gainer shakes in there. Just 8,500 calories of clean food. And when I did that, it made me hate food. It's what I had. That's when I told you I had that really successful off season.
Yeah.
That's how high that food got up to.
Uh,
So it's like nowadays, if I'm not having like a nice meal at a restaurant or a really nice home cooked meal, I chicken, rice, broccoli, ground beef, I eat it because I got to do what I got to do, but like it means nothing to me at
yeah.
all. Like I would rather have larger meals and eat 3 times a day as to eat 6 times a day, like smaller. Like I said, if you give me a pie, oh, I can eat that pie every 45 minutes. I can eat a piece of pie every hour on the hour because I enjoy that. But like bodybuilding food is completely just null to me now.
Is your sleep better or worse? Is it worse now that you're on keto? It's
Doesn't
about the
affect
same.
it. It sucks both ways, man.
Yeah.
Like this is we'll use this as a closing statement. I have done some wacky shit in the past for sleep. Like you don't tell doctors this kind of stuff, and you don't. I'm to the point now. Like I normally wouldn't even tell my friends this kind of stuff because I don't want people to look at me funny or think anything. I have actually taken a roofie
At
and barely slept.
least you can't get date raped, bro.
Yeah, no. But yeah, I think it was like a 2 milligram roofie, and ironically enough, when I took it, I did. It was literally a hangover moment because um, it was a friend of mine who also suffers from sleep, and he got it screwed up with Xanax. Then he was
So you
giving
thought
me
you're
a 2
taking Xan?
milligram Xanax.
Okay.
And we both took a 2 milligram roofie. It was literally like, oh shit, I got the pills wrong. Oops, my bad. Sorry about that, Justin. Like, yeah, thanks, dude.
Maybe he was trying to roofie you and you just woke up too soon.
Nah, he took one too. I
You
mean,
need that old school GHB, I guess.
I don't even think that would work. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't
Oh, yeah.
have it, but it
Isn't that
might.
what
I
people
mean,
used to take? Isn't that what did bodybuilders used to take? Was that the one that used to take to go to bed?
GHB is commonly used in the bodybuilding world. I just remember one time I was in Canada for a guest posing, and I asked the guy. Of course, all these people hit me up like when I guest pose. They're like, "What do you need when you're here?" And I'm like, "Nothing." "Well, you don't want any tests, DecaTrip." I'm like, "Dude, I'm here for 4 days. Man. I don't need anything. Like, I literally don't need anything for 4 days. Like, my physique is not going to look any different if I stop doing what I'm doing for 4 days." But I guess in the past that's not how they work. And I was like, "Well, do you have anything for sleep?" He goes, "Well, what do you want?" And I was like, "What do you got?" And he like makes a call. He goes, "You want some water?" I'm like, "Water? Well, you mean do I want water?" That's street name for GHB.
Okay, yeah, I'm
I
with
didn't
this
know
too.
that. And I looked at him, I was like, "Well, then I don't want water." I was like, "I got 3 gallons right here. What are you talking about?" I had no idea, but water was like, that's a common thing in the bodybuilding world, GHB. And that was the first time I actually learned about it because I didn't even know what it was.
You didn't
I
use it?
just heard GH. And I'm like, "Oh, what is this GHB shit? Let me look this up on my phone." And I realized, I'm like, "Oh boy, this is something you don't want to play with."
No. Yeah. Oh shit, man. Well, awesome. I appreciate it so much, bro. I'm really looking forward to starting prepping stuff and getting ready to go for that pro card together. So
Yep.
thank you for coming on. And I really like getting a lot of your background because like I said, I first saw you when I was the same age, basically doing the same shit on bodybuilding.com. We are probably commenting on the same fucking forum threads and stuff.
Probably, yeah.
uh, that's awesome. It's kind of nostalgic. I mean, I kind of miss those days. You'll never be able to recapture that now that we got social media everywhere. But
I know.
I'm
In a way, I kind of miss it.
yeah, because it was underground, you know.
Yeah, very. It's very hush hush.
All right, man. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate it. We'll try to do it again sometime.
All right, man. Have a good evening.
All right, take it easy, brother.